Good evening all. We are here for the webinar on the opportunities and challenges in the information system audit organized by DAP Committee, Digital Accounting and Insurance Board. Before we start, I request Nanda sir to give his keynote address. But before, I would like to give a brief intro about sir. Sir is a Central Council member from NIRC and also hold CCM from 2004 to 2016. Sir is present chairman of DAP Committee, International Audit Standard Board, and Committee on Information Technology of South Asian Federation of Accountants, SAFA. Sir previously also held many posts like chairman of Internal Audit Committee, Research Committee, Public Relationship Committee, and sir is also a chairman of NIRC in 2002 and 3. I request Nanda sir to give his keynote address.
Thanks a lot, Neeraj. Shri Raghu, the chairman of Varanasi branch, the host branch of today, two of my very revered speakers, Dr. Kapil Kumar Suri, Dr. Saurabh Maheshwari, the technical team, Amit Kumar, the secretary of the board, and all participants who have joined from all across the country. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me immense pleasure to speak to you all. In fact, I am in Dubai, but I could not stop myself from interacting with you. I want to tell you one thing very candidly. Technology is something that will change the entire perspective of this great profession. Three benefits of technology. First, technology doesn't work on samples. The entire database is search and reporting comes from the entire database. Second thing, there is no errors as far as technology is concerned. And third very important thing, technology, computers have no wives. Therefore, they complete the work on time. No holidays for them, no festivals for them. So information system audit entails a great area whereby you use the information system audits to create value and worth for the clients. Ladies and gentlemen, I will not take much of your time. I just wanted to come and speak to you for a moment and want to tell you that with technology, our entire thought process has changed. We were at a strong foot, but now we are at the top of the world. And I would just like to substantiate this view by way of a couplet. The couplet says, देते ना थे जो जवाब उनके सलाम आने लगे देते ना थे जवाब उनके सलाम आने लगे वक्त बदला तो मेरे नीम के पेड़ पर आम आने लगे. It is time for the profession to reap the benefits of knowledge on technology. Not taking much of your time, I want to thank the Varanasi branch for hosting this program. I want to thank both the speakers and the board for organizing this program for the betterment of this great profession, the profession of chartered accountancy. Goodbye. Thanks for giving me the opportunity. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nanda sir. Now I request our very own Varanasi branch chairman Raghu sir for his welcome address.
Thank you, Neeraj, our very own Varanasi branch Sikasa chairman and moderator for today's program. Today's program is kept on the topic is opportunities and challenges in information system audit. As we have passed our DSA, so we know the information system audit have a great impact in our day-to-day routine auditing works to we professionals. And I welcome on board our top committee chairman, our very own CA Charanjot Singh Nanda sir. He has joined from Dubai, as he said. And I also welcome our vice chairman of the committee, CA Dayanivas Sharma sir, CCM. He is in process of joining. He will join in a few couple of minutes. I welcome Dr. Saurabh Maheshwari sir, our key speaker for today. He has a brilliant academic records. Whatever he have in his purse, It will be said by CA Neeraj, our moderator, in due course of time. I also welcome Professor Dr. Kapil Kumar Suri sir. He is an eminent speaker and faculty for information system audits. He also is a bright intellectual and eminent speaker, and we are feeling quite grateful of these two speakers. From their deliberations, we are sure going to achieve some knowledge, and we will add something to our already learned things. I'm dead sure. And I welcome all the participants, our audience from all over India. Be with us, and surely you are going to be benefited by this program. It's a 3-hour CPE program. So you are also getting the CPE hours and a bunch of knowledge. Thank you, Neeraj. Over to you.
Thank you, Chairman, sir. Before we start for the technical session, as we already know, we have two eminent speakers with us, Dr. Saurabh Maheshwari ji and Dr. Kapil ji. Firstly, I would like to introduce Dr. Saurabh Maheshwari ji. He is a national trainer with ICI with 11 plus years, conducted 200 batches in 50 plus cities. He is also a national trainer, national awardee, author, startup mentor, IS auditor, data analyst, and very good academician. He completed his PhD from System Development and Data Analytics for Education Management from USA. He also completed his LLB from Kota University. He also completed his MBA in IS Management from IASC University. He is also director in Vice Consultant Business Development Saras 3D Tech Private Limited. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Neeraj sir.
We would love to hear your session. Over to you, sir.
Sure. Thank you very much. First, I would like to welcome everybody who has cleared DISA, and that was a landmark achievement by all chartered accountants getting a professional degree into IS audits and all. Thank you very much, DAP committee, Charanjot sir, Raghu sir, and Neeraj ji for inviting us. And I think, as Sir Charanjot sir said, information and technology are here to change the entire universe, to change the way we are working, to change the way we are doing the entire business operations. And for sure, all those who have cleared DISA and want to create a kind of professional pathway into IS audits and all, I think these kind of sessions are pretty much required. And these kind of efforts by institute is for sure going to help the professionals, the chartered accountants, to make sure that they are well versed with the technology and how to find out the pathways into implementing technology into their profession is very much important. And thank you very much, Kapil Suri sir, for giving me the privilege to speak before you. And I think whatever I'm going to speak, you can carry the entire journey for others forward. So as this topic says, opportunities and challenges for information system audit, I would like to say something before we begin the session. Okay. You all know that during pandemic, everybody was forced to get into technological arenas. Many of you might have not well versed about these Zoom platforms and other platforms, and these webinars were just a thought process, but was not on reality. So it's very fact that in last around 3 years or so, we as a IS professionals in terms of securities, in terms of auditing and all, have seen the biggest change what we have witnessed in first 20 years. So last 3 years were the biggest development, biggest revolution in the field of IS information system securities and information system audit. So for sure, this particular change in the technology is witnessing a lot of challenges and opportunities in the world which are bigger than ever and are going to be bigger than what we can see it right now. At the same time, just to tell you that everybody knows that technology is moving faster, and from industry 1.0, we are heading towards industry 5.0. So that is digitalization is something which is driving the entire universe today. And business and professionals like you and me are not a difference for it. To adopt the technology, to use the technology, and to see how technology is changing the profession is a necessity today. Any one of you who is still thinking that technology is an alien subject, and as a chartered accountant, you are not well versed for doing it, my dear friends, I would like to tell you that no, you all are using technology and maybe using technology much more than what an engineer is using, because engineers are on the back end side developing a particular aspect of it. You as a professionals are using multiple aspects of the technology, maybe from web technologies to mobile technologies to database technologies and to cloud technologies. So for my side as an engineer, I would like to congratulate you all chartered accountants for adapting the technology in a much easier manner that was presumed by us. But the only challenge is that you still feel like that's an alien subject for you. So to understand it and to use it from the auditor perspective, from the security professional perspective is very important. And for supporting my statements, I would like to showcase some data and some facts and figures for you for an easy understanding. The first thing which I need to tell you that I have facts and figures of 2022. So every day, I'm talking about every day, it is 25 into 10 raised to the power 10 GB of data which is generated. Now, if this particular data is being generated, you know, more of the data is from the organization side, from the company side and all. So no, privacy of the data, the security of the data, the movement of the data. If the data is financial transactions and all, then obviously the encryption related to data. The protocols which are related for migration of data, the storage and recovery of that particular data at the time of any problems and all is very important. So if this size of data is being generated every day, I think you can assume that what is required for data management. Secondly, in India, only if you talk about, there are 840 million internet users, which is actually 60% of the entire population. That is as per, again, data of 2022. So if 840 million people are using data, you know the privacy of the data, the secrecy of the data is again very important. As per the world's assumptions for 2025, the entire cost of cybercrime is going to increase by 10.5 trillion. That is actually three times the Indian economy. Right? As of now, we say that we are somewhere around $3 trillion. So obviously it is more than three times the entire economy of India. That is the size of cybercrime, which is going to cost the entire world. Now, if you want to stop this out, or if the entire universe or entire world wants to make sure that this particular amount should get reduced to as much as possible, in that case, the role of IS auditor is the topmost. Because unless you as an IS auditor have to find out what can go wrong, how it can go wrong, then the security professional will not be able to develop the right security controls and could implement them at the right places. Another facts and figure for you is that from 2019, you know that in 2019, I'm talking about pre-pandemic till today, there is 250% rise in the cyber crimes in the country. And this is what is recorded. And you know, in India, there are a lot of unrecorded facts and figures, unrecorded events also, unrecorded incidents as well. So technically speaking, I believe it has to be twofold. That is somewhere around 500% rise in the cyber crimes. And for sure, to stop the cyber crimes or to find out the criminals or to check out the evidences and put them properly into the front of a court and set them as evidences, IS auditor role is what is the most important part. To again support these facts and figures, there are some more which I need to tell you. That what is the scope of an IS auditor? So you know there are 6 million plus MSMEs in India. Today, if you know that there are a lot of larger companies which have already get into automation. Now the automation have actually started from, or for, you can say that MSMEs. You might be from different parts of the country addressing different clients from this particular MSME market. You know that they are into a process of automation, or with time to come up, they will come up into version 2 of their automation. So if this potential is there in the Indian market, I believe that security and auditing are here to stay. And you as a professional are privileged that being after certified as a DSA or after having an information system audit badge under your belt, I think the scope of engagements of yours is much higher. Then there is just to tell you that we are expecting the Indian economy is going to be 5 trillion with time. So if it is going to be 5 trillion, I hope you are able to hear me. And if it is going to be 5 trillion, then for sure it is the automation which is going to drive. It is the industrialization, it is the digitalization which is going to drive it out. Fine. So if it is there, then yes, for making it 5 trillion, the technology is going to be the base. And if it is the base, IS Auditor again is the most important pillar to sustain it out. Then what is the industrial automation size, which is presumed in India, is 23 point almost $09 billion. So if again, or okay, this is what do you say, the scenario which can come up. Then another facts and figure is that we are fourth in the world of digital transformation after US, Europe, and China. So after three big groups of countries, you can say that Europe is a group of countries. So even the entire group of countries are not so digitalized as compared to India. So we are in the fourth, you can say that, in the process of transformation. So transformation means entire data of our process or automation of our industries, medical practices, pharmaceutical industries, banking, financial institutions. When it comes to smart cities, obviously smartness and IoT environment altogether, the cloud computing, the blockchain, whatever is going to fuel it out, it is going to support it out. So with all these facts and figures, I just want to showcase the size of the industry, the potential which is there in the industry. So to say how many opportunities are there as an IS auditor, I think these facts and figures are sufficient to tell you that opportunities are enormous, and still the number of IS auditors which are required in the country are very less. So everybody has a good potential and revenue generating model for you all. Now to tell you about the technological impact of these technologies on the industry, on the business, I need to tell you that typically I am focusing on certain emerging technology aspects. Reason being, these emerging technologies are always tickling in your mind, and you can see the development which is happening out there in these technologies. So with each technology, I would like to tell that what are the basics and what are the auditor's implications on it. As you all know, IoT and other peripheral devices. So technically speaking, people are only talking about IoT, but I always insist one more word, which is IOMT. It is also there in the entire word also. What exactly it is? IoT is Internet of Things, and IOMT is Internet of Medical Things. You know, today we are into a field of smart and connected devices, whether it's washing machine or a coffee maker, your AC or a car, your TV or speakers, and so on. Almost every device we are having today is being connected to some or the other networks, and we are able to operate those devices from a distance location also. And today, you know that most of the advertisements which are coming up of AC electronic products, of your automobile industries, of your cell phones, of your smart wearable gadgets, whether it is a smart watch or a smart glass or a smart cap or a smart t-shirts, almost everybody is talking about connected devices. Now, my take, and as an auditor, I would like to say that these all components, these all devices which are connected to the technology and making the new paradigm for interconnected devices, it's going to create some problems and some opportunities both. Now, what can be the problem is that because a lot of data is being now traveled or transferred over internet or maybe between the devices, you know that a lot of protocols related things needs to be considered. At the same time, when you talk about the data which is being generated, it goes to certain organization, then yes, data migration, data movement, data security, data processing, data analytics, this is for sure going to happen. And this is how you are actually witnessing the outcome of these devices in terms of smart, or maybe you can say faster connectivities and a big user experience altogether. So with this shift of the connected devices and systems may result in auditor not being able to rely only on normal controls or manual controls. You know, there are two types of controls, manual controls and automated controls. So when devices are being connected automatically, they are sharing the data and all, for sure manual controls are no more of that interest as compared to digital controls. So instead of this, auditor have to focus on new systems, new ways for designing and operating certain effective automated controls. So what I feel is that you as an IS auditor can feel what can go wrong, how it can go wrong, and keep up your quest of finding out a solution for that. Although I agree that solution drafting and implementing the solution may not be that easy for you, But for that, engineers are there. But finding out the real-time issues and auditing the systems and coming up with the facts and figures which can be supportive enough for an IS auditor or a security professional to develop a control, I think that is required, and for which you are the only authorized individuals. And today consumers are facing a lot of problems. So when it comes to IoT devices, there are a lot of applications and all which will automatically do a lot of tasks. If some of you are watching some reels and some videos of technologies online, you can see that if refrigerator, I'll just quote an example. There is a refrigerator, which is a smart refrigerator. In a smart refrigerator, there is a space which is predefined for multiple glossaries and multiple food items and bakery items and all. And if that particular item is missing in your refrigerator, and whatever the basic minimum quantity which you have set in the system is it's below that, then it will automatically publish or put an order to your fixed vendor or maybe a fixed online portal wherein you are billing it out. It will be connected to your credit cards and all. It may take the payments automatically, and then you will receive the goods on your own. So if the entire transaction is going to be such an automated transactions, don't you feel the involvement of verifications of these transactions, the security of the processing, the protocols which are being used, the platforms, maybe cloud platforms or e-commerce platform, whatever being into the process, needs to be audited. They needs to be verified for the entire information correctness, for the flow, for the smoothness, for the security perspective, right? So auditor would need to consider whatever the volume of data which is being processed. It is related to secure movement of transactions. It is related to storage of data. It is related to controls which are to be placed in the automated transaction process, and also whatever the compliances which are implemented or enforced by the authorities and governments on these kind of transactions. So technically speaking, more the IoTs, more the smart devices, more the connected devices around us, more is the need of IS auditors, right? So that is one particular technology which I would like to say. Another technology which is there, which is a buzz everywhere, is what? AI. And everybody of us might be hearing about a lot of tools, a lot of concepts, and a lot of technologies connected to AI. And just to tell you, AI is here to stay. We all are looking forward for getting the repetitively transactions or repetitively tasks of an office operations, of a business or of industry to get enabled with an AI devices. So AI devices are being developed every now and then, and every day if you look forward for certain news related to AI, you will find out something new is there in the market. Few months before, there was a product which was known as ChatGPT. It was one of the finest AI platform for interaction between the devices and human has been developed. So rather than you typing it down or thinking and doing something, I think ChatGPT will ask certain questions and you will be in interactive mode with that particular platform. And whatever comes as an outcome for you is actually a document or maybe some sort of outcomes in terms of speeches or in terms of information for you comes up directly to you. So it is also a platform which understands what exactly are your interests all. So it will align after a gradual course of time, because it is AI enabled, give you the relevant information which is connected to your areas of interest. Right? So, I mean, these are going to create a new ecosystem completely with AI enabled devices and all, or maybe AI enabled platforms. So with AI tools, using advanced algorithms and machine learning to predict the activity and manage business processes, such as predicting the inventory levels, managing the cash flows, enforcing monitoring and other activities and internal controls. So when these AI devices are going to be a mainstream devices for entire business operations, although the time is there to come up, but the time is required for you to get equipped accordingly. Because as of now today, these devices and these technologies are slightly on the costlier side. But with time to come, the technology is going to get cheaper. So what are the implications of audit on auditor's perspective if this is all going to grow in a much faster manner? So using AI tools to drive business decisions, whether it is inventory buyout or which is a cash flow or whether it is a financial transactions, does not necessarily introduce new audit risk, because business changes can create operational risk that do not necessarily an audit risk. So you have to understand that it may not be directly connected to audit risk, but yes, if operational risks are there, then you have to consider those operational risks and put an indirect impact on your audit part as well. However, so as an auditor, you have to understand what are the areas where AI can be implemented, what areas where AI is not so mature enough. So what input, what data sets, what kind of refinement is required for getting the better decisions. If AI is working perfectly, then what is required to make it version 2 that is more perfect of it? If AI is generating some of the other errors and all, so you have to identify those errors, or you have to identify those risks and vulnerabilities which are identified or which are there in AI, and suggest the development team to upgrade it to the next level and make sure that whatever the exceptions, whatever the errors which are coming up are going to eliminate with time. So the only interest of AI is that with time to come up, the devices needs to do a lot of clerical, lot of repetitive tasks, letting the humans free to do more of creative tasks, more of intellectual tasks, and more of strategies tasks. Although the outcome generated by these AI devices are going to help you out, but these are not going to replace you as a human or me as a professional in the entire, whatever the generation or level of AI is going to achieve. So when AI is deployed in monitoring through predictive analytical purpose, they can give or they can narrow out your perspective. They can give a lot of inputs to you directly in your reporting format, or maybe in whatever the data analytics format you are looking forward for. What is required is to identify what can go wrong and what is going wrong. So auditor need to understand that particular reports, needs to understand certain tools, where the reliance exists and whether other controls over these activities are existing or not. If internal audit shift is focused on oversightness on relying on AI, auditor should understand the shift occurs, because when it comes to internal audit, a lot of AI devices may be developed with gradual course of time, which can do entire auditing also, but they cannot certify it out. So you as an auditor need to upskill yourself or need to develop yourself to a next level and identify that whether these kind of devices or these kind of tools are giving the output which are reliable, which are justifiable or not. An auditor needs to understand that rather than doing the audit from 0 to infinite on its own, you can also take use or help of these AI devices to help you out in the auditing process, to help you out in the data analytics process, or to help you out in finding the vulnerabilities and issues in the system also. Right? So again, to tell you that you have to change the perception altogether. You have to change your way of doing the entire audit in the an automated environment. So these kind of things needs to be understandable by you, and you should try to adopt and absorb these technologies in a systematic manner so that you are into a right framework and a right path and adopting the technological arenas. Apart from AI, another big technology which is being bubbling all around is what blockchain is. You all have understand and you all have seen the impact of blockchain as well. Fine. Entire universe is talking about blockchain. Every government is trying to implement the blockchain mechanisms for financials. What I believe as a technical person, and I may be wrong also, but my take is that with time to come up, the currency notes are going to get extinct by default. Entire financial transactions can be changed or will be changed in a gradual course of time on the blockchain financial transactions. Although for it, it's a lot of effort that needs to be placed in, a lot of backend server, softwares, mechanisms, compliances, rules, protocols needs to be developed. But I think assuming that will happen, we are already into a process of doing a lot of things on the digital platform. So just to tell you, there are a lot of companies and countries also which are today transacting rather than into dollars or euro and all. They are doing things in digital currencies like Bitcoins or Ethereums and IOTAs and all. Although in India, as of now, the government has not legalized the entire process in a very systematic manner. There's a lot of tax component attached to that. But you can also see on the parallel side, they have already initiated a digital currency, which is again based on blockchain. So blockchain as a futuristic technology, I believe it's going to change the entire financial reporting, tax preparation, financial transactions, back office activities, data keeping, data monitoring, transactions in a systematic manner. So you as an IS auditor have to understand the implications of blockchain technologies on the entire process of automation from blockchain angle. So widespread blockchain adoption may enable central location to obtain audit data. An auditor may also develop procedures to obtain audit evidences directly from the blockchain, but these needs to be developed, needs to be created unless you are having knowledge of it, which is practically seems to be impossible. However, when these transactions are going to happen, the auditor needs to consider the risks which are connected to that. So any transaction which can go inaccurate or which can generate some other the fraudulent work and all must be understood. So this will prevent new challenges, because see, if you are presuming things in advance, if you are analyzing things in advance and know what needs to be done for getting the transactions or getting the processing done in the right manner, you are actually assessing things in advance and making the transaction much more safe and reliable with time to come. Right? So this is going to present new challenges. So what are the new challenges in the blockchain? That is related to how to keep the data, because now data is not centralized. You know that blockchain is what? Peer-to-peer, right? So blockchain is a distributed ledger. So there are new technologies, or you can say new terminologies, which are going to come up. So this process will include considering what general information technology control, which are known as GITs, related to blockchain environment. Although these are under a development process at multiple, or maybe we can say authorization or implementation processes, multiple organizations. So companies, like if you talk about eBay, they've already implemented blockchain. Fine. If you talk about Amazon, yes, the blockchain has been implemented. If you talk about a lot of food-related chains or not, yes, blockchain is already there. Financial transactions, yes, blockchain. There are multiple banks which are implementing the blockchain environment for their backend processing also. So with this to come up, the protocols needs to be studied, the transactions, the data storage needs to be studied, the distributed ledger, the crypto-related part, the encryption-related part in terms of asymmetric crypto system needs to be studied by an IS auditor. For every system, it can be a different algorithm. So it's not like one size fit all strategy. And I prefer that rather than studying a particular format of doing things, you should understand the logic behind it. So as more and more organizations will explore this private and public blockchain concepts, auditors have to be aware to understand the potential impact of this into their audit environment, into the financial statements and record keeping things. So they also needs to evaluate the management accounting policies, digital assets, because now we are talking about digital assets altogether and the liabilities all around. Today, you know that there are a lot of organizations and a lot of people all around the world who have forgotten their digital wallet passwords. And that's the reason there are a lot of digital currencies and cryptocurrency which are lying unaccountable in the entire universe. How to keep them out? How to put up the securities on it? How to understand that these kind of wallets are not safe as of now, so you have to make them safe. These all things need to come up from your side. We as a technical person, again, are capable of developing certain tools, but what needs to be developed? Where it needs to be implemented, what are the problems which are being faced by the business organization will not come down to us directly. It will come down to you, and you have to put that into a presentable format to us, and then acts as a bridge in implementing these controls in the right manner. Now, blockchain, apart from blockchain, another use is related to what? Sorry, cloud environment. Let me just change it out. Okay, I just. So cloud environment is there. And you know that cloud environment is putting up another new paradigm of business operations today. A lot of organizations, a lot of companies, individuals, you as a chartered accountants are using clouding platforms in multiple manner. So putting up the data into a traditional physical format is no more into existence. We all are moving the data and processing the transactions, the application on the cloud platform to make it accessible, workable, and implementable from anywhere, any point of time. So it is changing the entire paradigm of the business operation. So again, audit perspective needs to be changed parallelly. So audit practices are rapidly evolving alongside the applications of this technology, the explosion of this technology, especially related to data again. Why I'm talking about data and data altogether always? Because ultimately that is what is very important. And today when the data is being moved over the cloud environment, there's a lot of new challenges which are coming up. One is the migration of data from the physical system or maybe into the physical manner to the clouding environment. Shifting from one cloud platform to another cloud platform for your business operations is again a challenge. you may look forward for, or maybe organizations and companies are actually what they are doing is that they are putting up the applications on one cloud or putting up the data on another cloud and making sure they are integratable together. And why they are doing so? So that they are not dependent on a single cloud platform for their entire operations. And if they are doing so, intermingling and transfer of data, secure movement of data, that becomes a bigger problem. So what are the auditor implications on the cloud environment? As the companies are moving to cloud for different purposes, so when a client undergoes the cloud transactions, as an IS auditor, you have to prepare the organizations to go for that. And what is most important is that you are responsible to obtain the understanding of the entire clouding environment, drafting up and implementing service level agreements with the cloud, understanding the risks connected to cloud, understanding the flow of data on the cloud platform, understanding the segregation of duties and liabilities on both as a cloud service provider and as a client. You have to understand and you have to make them understand to your client also. What is again important is to plan up the entire roadmap for implementing the cloud ecosystems into your company. Auditor have to be proactive and to inform client what are the early steps, what are the steps involved into the processing, into the transactions, into the migration to the cloud environment. At the same time, business continuity aspects also needs to be taken care of. You know that a lot of organizations which have moved to the cloud environment without understanding the perspective and the risk connected to cloud may have fall up into a dead hole or you can say black hole because the business continuity plan was not being there drafted. As you know that IT, whatever it is, AI or cloud or blockchain and all, they are not away from risk. And if something unforeseen happens, that what are the continuity aspects for it? Understanding the process of BCP, understanding how continuity can be ensured with respect to each and every technology is equally important. Why I have not put up this into the blockchain part? Because that is still to come up as a mainstream technology or maybe AI. But when it comes to cloud, it is already there. You are already implementing it out. Most of the organizations are using cloud platform for some other things. So understanding that and finding out the audit implications on the cloud platforms or audit implications and opportunities for you as an IS auditor is to be discussed. So apart from many technologies, I've just put in a few technologies just for your understanding that when the environment is changing, when the technologies are changing and new areas are emerging, you have to get well versed with those technologies in terms of implementation, in terms of usage, in terms of strategic part. Don't think that development is also your perspective or development needs to be done by you. No. So keep yourself away from the lot of technicalities and algorithm related development, but implementation, acceptability of an organization, needs related to organizations, risks and controls to be placed in are your role. And obviously putting them in terms of compliance related, proper implementation is also a part of it. Fine. So what are the potential areas where auditor needs to focus? So very specifically, how technology affects a company's business, if you are able to understand that. So as an auditor, you have to understand what are the implementation and oversight of new technologies. What can be implemented, what cannot be implemented, what is already there, what can be added on to increase the automation part of it. As you know, you all well aware about the banking ecosystems. And from last around almost 20 years or so, you have seen that there are new processes every time which are automated to the net banking environment. There are new features and new possibilities of transactions which are being put up on your ATM machines also. That means in a gradual course of time, what we are seeing is that banking is more of automated rather than document-based processing, right? Even your passbook updates you are being done, or it is being done rather than, without human involvement, you are doing it on its own with the help of devices. So these technologies are changing the business. So areas to focus on to understand is that new activities or change to existing process due to new technology. So that is, you can generate new revenue streams. What can be done? So if an organization is being completely functioning on an offline mode, some online connection to that, or maybe putting up the product on the digital platforms is again giving them new business streams. What has been done by Swiggy and Zomato is the same. The restaurants or the grocery stores which were doing, standalone working, because of the digitalization or involvement of Swiggy, Zomato, or some of the other grocery stores like Big Baskets and all involvement, they are generating new revenue streams. So now, apart from their traditional work, they are having another e-commerce or e-business related business streams as well. So you have to understand what are the change in roles and responsibilities of the entire personals in the organizations. You have to understand what are the automations of manual tasks, how they are being automated automatically. What are the change in the level of individuals? What are the change in the level of control implementations? How they are keeping the stocks in a very specific manner? How the distribution, discounts, financial accounting, getting into control aspects of getting the delivery done at the right user at the right time is also very important. So all these new activities which are being connected to the business now also needs an auditing aspect. Then change in the way the entity systems are developed and maintained. So moving from traditional, in the earlier days, automation was done in a traditional waterfall approach, or waterfall development was being followed by most of the organization. I'm talking about 2000. But when you come up today, it is more of agile methodologies or more of re-engineering or reverse engineering methodologies which are implemented. So if these new methods for developing of system, implementation of systems, or upgradation and maintenance of systems are being there, the change needs to be introduced from control and audit perspective as well. So involvement of auditor in the system development, in the controls and security implementation has to be very parallelly aligned. You have to understand that technology and the process of implementing the technology are now very robust. It's not like they are waiting for the entire system to get developed and then waiting the entire system or the users to get trained for it and the implementation happens. No. Today it is very robust. Every new feature added are added very spontaneously and are added at a server levels, or you can say at the cloud level. And every people connected to that particular ecosystems are being updated on the real-time basis to adapt that new updated technologies. So if the updation and implementation of the updations are on the real-time basis, I think real-time involvement of auditor is going to come up. So when it is real-time involvement, I believe that you have to collect the real-time data. The data analytics needs to be done on the real-time basis. The problems or solution needs to be suggested or implemented on the real-time basis. So auditor's engagement is not going to be once in a year or twice in a year sort of engagement. It has to be an ongoing and a real-time engagement of an IS auditor within an organization. Because anything goes wrong on the real-time basis can replicate itself. So solution needs to be given there and there itself, so that replication of a problem or a duplication of a problem should not happen. At the same time, see, new technologies impact on how the organization obtains and generates and uses relevant quality information to support functioning. So if the user needs something, I think filtration of data, user-specific suggestions to data, user-specific flow of information has to be aligned. You know that earlier it was one-size-fits-all sort of strategy. That means there is a website, there is a application which is being developed, and it has been uniformly distributed to all the users. Today, we are into personalized environment. That means what has been showcased on your Swiggy and on my Swiggy, or on your Amazon, on my Amazon, it's different. The products are different. The offers may be different with time to come up. It's not like your and my offer will be same. Because of recurring things, it may say that I have a 5% additional discount, because for me, it's being regular process. And today you might be seeing that on the Swiggy. So if you order something on the Swiggy on the regular basis, Swiggy gives you a 50 rupees special discount coupon. So that becomes what? A one-on-one discount connections, a one-on-one user connection, a specific privilege to a user, specific features and offers for the users. If these things are going to be so specific, don't you believe that engagement of auditor or the auditing perspective needs to be gradually changed or needs to be implemented or enhanced in a similar manner? Because anything goes wrong, any offer to be used by anyone which is not into the vicinity of that particular offer, any code going into the wrong hands, and somebody taking undue advantage of the offers on the systems, doing some or the other financial mismanagement, can create a havoc. And with the data which is being processed all around the world is enormous. Almost every day there are somewhere around 11 lakh Swiggy or Zomato orders placed every day. 11 crores. So if 11 crores Swiggy and Zomato orders are placed every day, the data which is being generated is almost infinite. And all these transactions are also done in the digital format, maybe in the format of Paytm or a UPI payment transactions, or maybe a kind of your credit card, debit card transaction, or sometime into a cash on delivery as well. So with this multiple possibilities of getting the financial transaction done, with this multiple possibilities of getting the order cancelled, updated, modified, or whatever, or maybe some other the grievances with respect to customers, the audit needs to be parallelly changed, and the quantum of auditing required is, I think, uncomparable. Although as of now today, I still agree to the fact that these kind of things are not a part of the compliances, are not a part of the system which has been implemented forcefully by the government or certain authorities. But again, that if you are aware or not, let me update you. The personal data protection bill, which was pending, it is expected to come down during this budget session only. And if it is there, it is going to be implemented. And once it is implemented, there are a lot of changes which will happen in the applications, in the internet environment altogether with respect to personal data. And all these data which I'm talking about, your payment data, your individual data, your location related things, your name, your details, your credentials are falling into that personal data related things only. Right. At the same time, just to tell you, because we have talked about IoT and I'm just connecting it to IOMT, everybody of us is now being vaccinated. Entire data of ours with respect to vaccination, with respect to our Aadhaar card details and all is already on a portal, already on a platform. Right? We all have downloaded certain applications during the pandemic, fine, which have been used maybe all over the country. And we have put in a lot of data of ours to make sure that our security, our data related things, our vaccinations, our medical records are now stored on the digital platforms, and governments and other bodies are having access to that. At the same time, when you are going for your medical insurance, again today, almost everybody of you might have got some sort of smart cards, fine, maybe from Star Health Insurance or your ICICI Prudential Insurance. Those smart cards are having your data into it. Fine. So IoT, that is Internet of Things, and IOMT, which is Internet of Medical Things, is again going to create a new paradigm for security and auditing purpose. And as far as I know, and I am able to connect you out, IRDA and Government of India is implementing strong controls into putting up this medical data on a public platforms, and getting usage of this particular data for data analytics should be avoided as much as possible for selling of protection services by pharmaceutical companies or maybe by medical companies. So they need to stop it out, because that today almost every now and then you receive certain calls for insurance purchase, certain calls on your medical records, and certain calls from the hospitals as well for certain other benefits connected to you if you are having some sort of medical issues. So to avoid it out, this personal data protection is going to play a major role into that. So my way is that if new technologies are coming up, new compliances are coming up, as an IS auditor, as a technology individual, you have to update yourself on the parallel grounds, on the real-time basis, to adapt these technologies and see how implications of these technologies are affecting the entire auditing paradigm. So technology affect the business. How technology affecting that needs to be studied. With every different companies, every different business, whether it's an ag-tech business or a fintech business or an agri-tech business, technology is connected. So when technology is there, you have to understand how the entire business operations are changing on this technological grounds, and what areas are there which are vulnerable, which are risky, which needs to be audited, which takes care of financial transactions, which are strategic, which are related to intellectual properties and all. And you have to infuse your intelligence from auditing from all those angles, or maybe in all those areas, to check the applicability and compliance as part of it. Right? Then how technology affects the internal controls, and typically talking about financial reporting. So, auditor will perform procedures to understand management steps to evaluate how the new technologies impact the company's internal control systems. Again, internal controls are continuously being updated. So it's not like once if they were implemented in 2000, so 2022, 23, they are going to be same. No. So to obtain this understanding, auditor may ask the management about following areas. So what needs to be done from your angle if you are going for an organization for IS audit? So the impact of new technology as an organization identification and assessment of risk relevant to achievement of the control objective needs to be discussed. So every control needs to be mapped up with the achievement of or maybe the outcome of those control implementation. Because every control implemented or every procedure implemented is going to create a new way out to execute something. Fine. If a control is there, the control is going to take the resources of an organization, resources of the system. It is a costly affair to implement a control. And yes, using that control needs to be told effectively to the individuals also. So you have to understand and you have to tell or you have to ask from the management what are the impact of the technology, and from you, the training aspects of it, the implementation aspect of it should go into a real-time manner. The impact of new technology has or should have had on the entity of the entire inter-control, typically from financial reporting perspective. So internal control over financial reporting, this needs to be talked on, and you have to ask this from the management. Any insufficiency or sufficiency in the data designing of the internal controls again needs to be identified and addressed effectively. So if there are sufficient controls, the controls implementation, reporting, and reporting part needs to go parallelly. If the controls are insufficient, then sufficiency of related to the controls again needs to be discussed and implemented, and again reporting parts should go parallelly. You have to understand what are the upstream and downstream of data interface. You know what upstream and downstream is? When it comes from top management to the bottom line, that becomes upstream. Sorry, that becomes downstream. And when it goes from the customer's individual to the top management or to the data server, it becomes upstream. So the system used to outsource a lot of services today, when it comes to data management, data securities, data processing, or maybe storage or business continuity aspects of the data. So understanding as the data is moving to the third party's control. So any upstream and downstream data interface have to be studied. Outsourced data, the compliances aspects, the procedure aspects, the compatibility aspects of this with your business partners, with your vendors, needs to be mapped up with your requirements, right? And then when it comes to new technology implementation, considering the staffing related things, because HR is the most critical thing. So HR related staffing levels, competency of the personals, appropriate resources, and risk connected to that must also be connected to the internal controls over financial reporting. So again, just to tell you that as more and more data are being digitalized, the financial records, financial transactions, financial record keeping, all are going to the digital format. The internal controls over financial reporting is again an ongoing process, right? Anything goes wrong at any point of time must be rectified on the real-time basis so that the replica of that particular issue should not happen. So cyber risk, individuals' involvement in the data, the rights and duties, or you can say segregation of responsibilities inside the organization from financial reporting perspective needs to be checked out and updated automatically. What I have seen in a lot of the organizations which are taking care of financial reporting on the digital format is what? The rights and duties of the individuals are not being done properly. There are a lot of individuals in the company which are today distracted or removed from the organization, are still having the access privileges of the data. The auditors which have been given access last year, their access privileges are still being granted to them. They have not been revoked back. The reporting which are being prepared are not stored properly or stored in the specific format which is being precised by the application of the developer. If you are looking forward for third-party involvement, the missing part is that the business continuity aspects of the third-party server failed or third-party resources are being damaged, it has not been planned for. So all these things again falls under the auditor's perspective. So if somebody says that what are the roles of an auditor in the technological field, I feel like without auditors, there is nothing left out. So auditor are the key part for it. On the other side, which I feel like most of the IAS auditor have actually asked for me, or the chartered accountant are asking on the regular basis, is that, sir, we are sitting into a different country or different city, which is a B grade or C class or B class town, wherein the MSMEs are not there, wherein automation is not there. How we are going to do the IAS audit? Whether we are being, we have to move our offices and our operations into metros or get it or maybe we are distracted from getting into IS auditing as a profession for us. I say no. Reason being, when it comes to IS audit, location becomes irrespective for me. Still, I myself sits in a sea town, which is Kota. So even from Kota, Rajasthan, if I'm able to provide IAS controls and IAS audit related services to the clients connected to me, I think you can also do that. I am keeping myself connected to the only education industry. So my solutions are for universities, for schools, for colleges, for coaching institutions, from system development to risk assessment to auditing aspects for it, for upgrading the systems, for training the employees with respect to the new features added to that, for making sure on the regular basis I am keeping the data integrity related part intact for that. Also at the same time, business continuity, which is key important part for all the organization that has to be monitored. So even me sitting in B class town able to manage it out, I think you who are directly connected to the typical set of organizations and connected to the stakeholders of the organizations, I think finding out the right client and giving the right services to them will not be a challenge or should not be a challenge. So what are the key steps which I feel like auditor needs to adapt with the changing conditions in the environment? I think these are the crux part for it. So as auditors obtain an understanding of the impact of technology on a company's business, its systems of internal controls and the financial reporting are some reminders includes what first? Maintains sufficient professional spectism. Fine, the updation of two things. One is what the business is doing and how they are changing, how the technology is changing and technology impact on the business. So making sure your professional skepticism needs to be parallel, proportionate with all these. This is one key aspect for it. So you have to maintain that. Then you have to understand the direct and indirect effects of technology and determine how it's used by the entity impacts the auditor roles. So technology can be directly used as an organization itself get automated. They're implementing a lot of technologies on their own, like automation of their processes, implementing ERP, getting data into a data format, using clouding environment, or using robotic process automation. That is direct usage. But apart from direct, there are indirect effect also because the banking they are connected to has become automated. Because the vendors whom they are interacting are now getting into the automated transactions and record keeping. Maybe because the government or maybe the compliances part for it needs to be creating the digital records and making sure that those are being updated on the regular basis. So it becomes direct and indirect effect both. So as an IS auditor, you have to understand what are the direct and indirect effects of the use of technology, what are the indirect and direct implementation of the technology in the organizations, and how these technologies are changing the business scenarios, how these technologies are creating a new paradigm for risks and controls, how the staffing part are connected and linked with these technologies. What are the ways in which these technologies can hamper or support your business? If you are able to understand all this, I think auditing part or reviewing part or upgradation part in terms of assessment of the technology is not going to be a challenge for you. Then comes, you have to understand how ICFR, that is again financial record keeping, is changing with the scenarios. Putting up the right auditing aspects into financial records keeping, making sure these financial records are being kept in a specific format for a specific duration of time, which are there stored at a specific location, fine, and are accessible to certain specific set of users is connected to that, right? At the same time, appropriateness of management in terms of selection of the right technology, development and implementation of right controls, training and retraining and upgradation of the employees to whatever the extent of technology you are using. Fine. See, let me tell you, every now and then there are certain training aspects in the companies which are being done on the regular basis again when a company is implementing ERP. So when the ERP is implemented, there is a training part. There are new feature added, new processes are added. Again, there has to be a training and retraining part. If there are new controls implemented, again, there is a training and retraining part. Why? Because the control implementation usage is again very important. When it comes to upgradation of the technology, again, the user involvement is very important. Auditor involvement is very important because now meeting up the user requirement with the development team is again the auditor responsible because you are acting as a bridge between the development team and the user aspects of it. So these are the key things which I just summarized into small, or you can say points format for you to take care of it. Now, what as a statement, and then I'll continue with a few more aspects of it. I believe that 2/3 of the earth is covered with water and rest 1/3 is covered with auditors. So if you are an auditor and finding out the right parts of an auditor, whether it is technology or non-technology, I think that's a scope and opportunity for you. But my take here, or from the challenges side, what I believe is that adoption of technology and understanding of technology is to an ongoing process. So as you have put up your efforts into understanding GST compliances and keeping yourself aligned with the entire GST ecosystems, the similar effort needs to be placed in with a dedicated mindset into understanding and implementation of technology part of it. What my take again is that with MSMEs, which is for me is the biggest segment of the automation, which is still to be done in the entire country, you as an auditor can take a step ahead in making that automated part. You can align yourself with developers to develop a right automation model and mechanism for MSMEs or SMEs. Once the phase 1 related development is done, you can go for phase 2, phase 3. So automation in a totality is a systematic process. You cannot do it over a time. So you as an IS auditor can make up the entire pathway for the automation, which is known as a digital transformation actually of an organization. Second thing where you can involve yourself is risks and control aspects. If you are aware or not, every now and then there are new risks which are there emerging from the technological side. There are new cyber threats which are coming up. You might not be aware about the terminologies connected to the IT risk, but just to tell you, click jacking, blue jacking, SIM jacking, these are the terms or these are the risks which are coming up. These, or you can say in 2023, I can see these are the bigger risks. Ransomware, yes, this is a bigger risk. Risks from IoT and IoMT environment, yes. Cloud-related risk, yes. So every other risk which are connected to your organization must be understandable by you in a specific manner, and how they are or how they can come up with the organization you are connected with. Properly suggesting some sort of risk control matrix from your side and making the risk of an organization at a lowest or acceptable level is one bigger role which an IS auditor can play. Apart from that, when it comes to GRC implementation, fine. Governance from the IT perspective is again something which is being still underestimated area of working. Why so? Because developing the policies, smallest of the policies, fine, is not being done in the organization. They are doing it just for the sake of doing it, or they are doing it because the application system which is being developed is forcing them to do that. There is no logic, there is no process behind that. When it comes to Big Four, they are putting up a lot of efforts. And if you are connected to those Big Four, you can see there are certain professionals today which are being occupied by these organizations are for GRC implementation. Even if you talk about biggest of the organization today, if it comes to even PSUs, fine, even ONGC, HPCL, BPCL, your Steel Authority of India, they're into a process of implementing a strong GRC concept in their organization. And yes, still developing of those policies is there, updation of policies is there. And with pandemic to come up, and people are more and more connected to the technological platforms, working in work from home environment or working in work from movement environment, that is people are outside the organization to connect to the organization, using their own devices is one aspect. Today it is work, or we can say bring your own application also, that is BYOA. So when these things are going to come up, don't you believe that on the regular basis, auditors engagement on 24/7 basis with the organization is also required? So you can play a role into that aspects also. So from development to control implementation to training aspects also. So when new features are added, new technological ways are there, new controls are implemented, to effectively use all those things which are newly been done, a right training needs to be imparted to the employees. So you yourself can play a role into training those employees, because you are a third party, you have done it from an eagle eye view, you have been involved into implementing of those things. I think training part from your angle is also a lucrative profession. Apart from training, something that again plays a very important role is AI implementation. Now, why I am saying AI is very important? Because as of now, also a lot of individuals or a lot of learned individuals have not put up a decent effort in developing the AI platforms for financial automation. As you know that even after a lot of tools which are available for chartered accountant, for tax calculations, for auditing perspective, for evidences and all, there is still a lot of scope which is there lying out from the AI implementation from chartered accountant side, right? I was been delivering a session with your Bhilai branch a couple of days back. They've invited me for delivering a small session on risks and control aspects. There we have discussed that why not there is a possibility of developing a platform which can actually automatically find whether it is putting up the income tax related things, or whether it is related to intellectual property. Why not a system can be developed which can keep a track record on all the data and all and find out what needs to be done. A small problem which has been identified there was today almost every transaction whatever we do are on the digital manner. That is, suppose I initially move, or maybe I'm talking about 10 years back from now, when I'm moving from one city to another city, most of the transactions which are done by me are in cash transactions. Today, even if you are paying out for a chai, or maybe for a cup of tea, or maybe for a pack of a biscuit, whatever you are doing is in the financial mode. You are scanning, you are QR code scanning and doing the payment done. The records of financial statements, which earlier used to be 3, 4, or 5 pages, are coming down in 100, 200, 500 pages today, because 2 rupees, 10 rupees, 5 rupees, 20 rupees transactions are bulk in manner. Why can't we develop a AI-enabled system which can filter those small transactions and keep those transactions which are actually required for the financial recording and financial processing? When this particular idea or problem was been identified, we feel like, why can't we develop a solution for this? And this problem is going to be there in the market. It's not like it's going to be eliminating, and manual processing is very easy. No. When the bulk statements are going to come up for financial auditing and all, I think 100, 500, 1,000 pages document, it's almost tough to get evaluated. Using of technology and AI platform to filter those small transactions and make sure those bulk transactions which are important enough for the business perspective has to be there. At the same time, there was another challenge which has been emerged that was related to post-bill processing. Fine, there are a lot of wrong bills which are generated, and the payment transactions are being executed on behalf of that. Even, just to tell you, even I'll showcase you if you want, Facebook, just a second. Facebook related, Facebook or Google companies have also faced these kind of problems. And there was somewhere around 11.9 million US dollars bill which has been raised in a forced manner, and the payment has been taken from these companies by certain unidentified vendors, and that was 11.9 million US dollars. That's a big amount of money. How to keep a track on it? So again, there was a suggestion which was discussed with few of the chartered accountants during my deliberation at the Bhilai branch, was that why can't we develop a billing mechanisms or a software which can generate certain bills with QR code on a unique bill every time, or unique QR code on every bill every time. And when the payment comes up, we can map it out from every QR code. So bill to payment mapping can be easily been done. So if it has been done, I think forced bill and forced transactions and fake bill and those financial losses of the company can be stopped in a much bigger manner. So my take is that if you keep on identifying these problems, and if you keep a keen eye on what is being done, what can be rectified, what technology can be used, how these technologies can be helpful, I think that will develop an entire safe ecosystem for the financial system for the country, right? And you know that this is the most painful point for an organization, because rest everything is still digestible. Any unwanted money lost for an organization needs to be controlled for. So if you put up your knowledge and your effort in developing an AI-enabled system for stopping these things, if you and me as a financial professional and a technical person can collaborate together to develop an automation model for business automation, for chartered accountant fraternity, for financial record keeping, for safe financial transactions and all, I think that is going to not only support the authorities and government, but I think a lot of business which are not finding out the right tools for their automation will get automated by default, because now the safe tools are there in their front. Fine. Now, keeping my presentation here itself, I'm just pausing it out for any Q&As from your side, for any doubts and questions from your side. If it is not there, then I will take you to a few more aspects for technology and tell you how those areas can be impactful for a chartered accountant. Although those are slightly on a bigger side, in a what do you say, broader shells, but even understanding those can be impactful for you. Okay, so Neeraj ji has asked a question. You want to understand what is Merkle tree in blockchain. Okay, fine. So see, blockchain technology is based on three basic pillars. One is asymmetric crypto systems, asymmetric crypto, that is PKI, public key infrastructure. Another aspect is hash function, fine, that may be connected to this asymmetric crypto key. One is peer-to-peer technologies, that is the data is not being stored at one particular place. So when these pillars are there, fine, there is a hash function which I have just said is being created. So when the hash functions are there, to ensure that cryptocurrencies and your data which is being out there is effectively and efficiently being taken care of it, there is a Merkle tree which is being created, and that takes you out from the basis to the transaction processing. There is a systematic process. So that is hash, and there is supportive hash functions, and there are, you can say, the different blocks which are created hash functions. So if a Merkle tree is being created, you can actually track it out from where the transaction have been initiated, what are the individuals and the multiple hash or data blocks which are created in between. So if a tree is there, then the authenticity of the transaction can be ensured. Any blockage or any breakage in this particular tree or any hash not matching it out needs to be creating a suspicious in the mind of an auditor that something is going wrong and needs to be monitored and take care on the perfect basis. So it's actually the fundamental of the blockchain technology, you can say that. And this tree, we create the entire flow of blocks, and the monitoring, whether it is top to bottom or bottom to top, going back to the basics, is possible because of this Merkle tree only. Okay, so different hash are created, and these hash are connected to each other. So that's a different mathematical data structure which is there, and uniqueness of each and every block and connection of each and every block can be monitored with the help of Merkle tree. Is it clear, Neeraj ji? Somehow? Okay, fine. I am expecting few more doubts and queries from your side. There is one which has been put up: how to find IS audit requirement necessary for clients, or there is any statutory requirements to get IS auditor done. See, as of now, Neeraj ji, when it comes to larger organizations which are listed in the share market or are governed by insurance authorities or banking systems and all, yes, there are necessary IS auditing guidelines that needs to be done, and you all are aware of it. But when it comes to small organization, MSMEs and all, there is no standard compliances and force on them to implement the IS audit. But at the same time, when the organization is going into automation part, IS audit related requirements is in their mindset, but one point is that they are unable to connect you out, or they are unable to raise their requirements in a specific manner. So I think at this point of time, if I'm talking about in the scenario wherein IS audit is at a very initial stage of getting themselves placed with the MSMEs, you have to put up an effort into mapping up your professional capabilities with the requirements of an organization. A lot of organizations are still not in a process of automation for the single reason they are worried about if something goes wrong, what are the mechanisms to cover it out? What is the right pathway to getting into automation? What are the right tools and technologies that needs to be implemented? Because the organization may be very good enough into doing whatever they want, but they are not having a technical consultant. You can play a role of that technical consultant to them. Rather than getting again into the technological part of development, you can be a tech consultant to align multiple vendors to them. And if those are there, you can be a catalyst into automation process. Fine. So yes, today the requirements are already been there. Every company wants to get automated. There is no organization which is not there interested into automation. But the pathway for automation, the roadmap for automation, the phases of automation are still not defined, and for which they are not aware of. You can be that particular individual who can pave the path of the entire systematic automation process. How to process an IS audit? Very simple aspects for you to understand a lot of aspects of IS audit. The only thing which I suggest you is read a lot of case studies, which are real-time case studies of organizations like even Amazon, as from the day one till today, how from a just online bookstore to come up as one of the biggest company, how the technological payment path has been done. A lot of case studies with respect to risks and controls are already there on portals like ISACA or portals like BCP, BCMpedia.com with respect to risk, security, controls and all. There are a lot of case studies on ISO platforms as well, which will give you a real-time scenarios of what is being done in the organization, how automation was done, what was the risk connected to automation, and how these standards have helped them out. If you want to do certain hands-on, I believe almost everybody of you is having an ecosystem with 4, 5, 7 systems in your own organization, in your own office, wherein they are connected to network, they are sharing a lot of data. There is a lot of wireless data connectivity also. There is security aspects, maybe firewall configuration is there, maybe anti-malware implementation is there. You have a lot of segregation of duties also. If everything is there already in your ecosystem, auditing your own ecosystems may be a first hands-on exercise for you, which can be done immediately, right? Point number 3, how to prepare scope of IS audit. I think we have been discussing that. So entire scope from grassroots level to infinite is being discussed with you. And involving yourself with the emerging technologies, broaden up your scope, because every company is heading towards smartness, heading towards AI, heading towards blockchain, heading towards IoT, heading towards robotic process automation, heading towards cloud environment. So if not now, in 5 years down the line, you by default have to engage yourself with these technologies. So develop your intelligence, develop your expertise into these areas. And yes, with respect to drafting of an IS audit report, it is not a rocket science. It is an easiest aspect, because most of the standards which you might be using, whether it is ISO or COSO or ITIL or HIPAA or whatever, they come up with a sample audit format of the report. You just need to fill up the data. Apart from that, a lot of controls comes up with a predefined audit format of reporting. You just need to understand what audit report needs to be done or placed in. Fine. Technically speaking, you create a hindrance in understanding audit and IS audit as a different aspects. Take it as the same. The only difference is here is that now you are auditing on a technological platform. So you know IS audit is of 2 types: auditing the technology and auditing around the technology. So when you're auditing the technology, you're more focused with respect to automation of processes within the organization. What ERP is there? What data movement is there? What are the controls which are implemented in the application system? If you're auditing around the system, the auditing with respect to physical risk, environmental risk, user-related roles and responsibilities, risk coming up from the internet side, risk coming up from the third-party side, your vendor side who are connected to, that needs to be studied. So auditing in the system, auditing around the system, these 2 areas, if are segregated properly, you know what is to be done within and what is to be done externally within the organization, right? So there is a question which is, it's common belief that ISA opportunity is available only in banks. No, that is the biggest hindrance, Raghuji, which is there. I believe today a lot of opportunities in India are lying up with MSMEs. I always believe that is the biggest market. You know, in India, even PSUs are supported by MSMEs to get their work done. There are a lot of ancillaries units which are supporting them out. Larger organization will not come down to you majorly. Larger organizations like PSUs, corporates like L&T, like Reliance, like Airtel, like Adani's and what, they will go to big fours because they have the capacities, and the big fours are approaching them. They can give them some sort of customized solution and services for them. And that is what the direct, connection for them. For you, let's start finding out the possibilities in MSMEs. Fine. Connection with them. You can start from basics. That is the process of automation goes for them. You can understand the requirements, suggest a automation procedure for them, draft the entire automation plan, implement the automation, or first put up effort in development of automation tool, then implementation and training of the employees, then what controls and risk assessment. This becomes an entire new paradigm for you. So you can create from zero to infinite a new different opportunity altogether with MSMEs in your own vicinity, rather than going out and finding out a larger organization which is beyond the capacity of ours, because we are in small firms, right? So whether there are some ways out, yes. So I'll tell you what I have done. It will create a case study for you. Almost 10 years back from now, I believe, when there were certain ERP tools and automation tools that are implemented by government in the few of the universities, government universities, for digital data keeping. When almost entire school education, they are generating digital records. So you know the day when the 10th report card comes down the newspaper. Today, almost entire result is being published on the online mode. CA should also publish everything on the online mode. Few of you might be from that scenario wherein the results are published on the newspaper and you keep on searching your roll number into that, right? So from that day till today, there is a lot of change. So I believe that 10 years back from now, when I have witnessed these particular change, I feel like if the government institutions and bodies are doing so, why not private universities and colleges will be doing or interested to do so? So I approached to them. I believe my approach has encountered them with a new avenue altogether, or they have witnessed a new avenue from my side. That okay, why not digitalization? It becomes very easy for them for record keeping, marks, automation of documents and all. So they have started doing so. So first project of mine was generated by my own quest of doing something for the education industry. I approached them. I tell them what can be done. I tell them what are the benefits of automation. I tell them what are the benefits of record keeping. I tell them what are the ways in which their entire automation is going to help them out in multiple ways out. So couple of universities I have approached. I have developed the entire ERP system for them. And the ones I have developed, I am still connected to those universities for their upgradation part, for their security part, for their VAPT assessment, for their next level of integration. And that is how it's been helping out them into getting those accreditations from different bodies also. So it's not like client will come down to you, because client never knows, or they might not be exposed to entire technological arenas, and they are not exposed to that because they are not connected to the IT industry as well. Whatever they can see, they can compare themselves with their counterpart in grade A or A plus cities or in metros, that they are automated. Why can't we? So their quest of automation is there, but because the tools and technologies and entire ecosystem is not easily aligned to them, they are not finding out. You can do that. So whether there are some ways out, yes, small and medium organizations can involve you as an entire, rather than putting yourself into only IS auditor perspective, you should put like automation professionals. Fine, automation professionals, rather than doing the development part, rest everything can be done into your vicinity. And you can be the main individual for the digital transformation of an organization. Right? So Raghuji, I hope I was able to justify the questions you have asked. Raghu sir?
Yes, sir. Thanks. Actually, it was a concern of all small town auditors from Varanasi type of places.
Sir, Varanasi is an industrial place. There are a lot of companies connected to that. There are a lot of organizations nearby. I always believe, Raghu sir, that location should not be a constraint for IS audit. That is one aspect. Start involve yourself into the auditing perspective, not only in auditing perspective, rather than as a catalyst, as a professional for digital transformation of an organization. If you believe that, and if you are connected to that, I think one small project of yours, see if you are unable to do it directly, engage few engineers or professionals within your group and go with an organization to go for transformation purpose. Fine. If you see, you are connected to the owners and stakeholders directly. If I have to approach, you know that I am, for me, stakeholders are a distance. I do not know them. And if I know them also, they are not trusting me out. You are the most trustful entity when it comes to the stakeholders engagement. You can act as a catalyst into the entire process. So start projecting yourself rather than a financial consultant as a digital transformation consultant.
I hope कि मैंने जिन लोगों की तरफ से ये क्वेश्चन पूछा था, they should also have listened to this answer, और वो लोग ऐसा कोशिश करेंगे कि we should become a catalyst for any projects or
And
business.
sir, people like me and Kapil Suri sir are always there to support you out and keep on. Initially, maybe an hand holding is required, we are ready to do that. And thereafter, you can keep yourself, your boat will keep on sailing, sir. You do not need an hand holding thereafter.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Over to you, Kapil Suri sir, or maybe Neeraj sir.
Thank you, Saurabh sir, for such an informative session. I don't see any question now. Okay. Let me welcome our second speaker, Professor Kapil Suri sir. Sir is an international corporate trainer, consultant, business coach, and faculty in the domain of information technology and management from more than 2 decades. Sir is also a senior DISA and FAFD faculty of ICI. Sir is a gold medalist in BE in computer science from SGSITS Indore, Master of Technology from IIT Kanpur, gold medalist in MBA from IIM Indore. I welcome you, sir. Now over to you, sir, for your session.
Yeah, thank you, Neeraj. Kindly just confirm. I hope I am properly audible to all of you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Raghuji, thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Once again, good evening to all of you, as well as people from Varanasi. So, Jai Bhole. I think Raghuji and Neeraj become the source of Kashi Vishwanath at this moment.
Sorry to interrupt you, sir, and you are always welcome to Varanasi, that is Kashi.
No, definitely.
We are here
definitely.
to host you, all people, all the audiences, and especially our key speakers for today's session. Whenever you feel convenient, you come to Varanasi, and we are here to welcome you.
No, definitely. Okay. So, a part of Neeraj, Raghuji, once again, good evening to all the participant people, those I hope present from the nationwide, and especially under the current scenario, although today is a great day, because although Varanasi branch took the initiative to organize this webinar, that once any auditor, because now whenever I'll address auditor default, I am considering that person is a chartered accountant, because every chartered accountant, we won't consider that he or she would possess the skill of audit, but every auditor default will consider that he or she is a chartered accountant. Now today, in the first half, although with respect to IS audit, that is the DISA, which is one of the most prominent, most wanted course at this moment amongst the fraternity, as well as from the committee point of view, that is the DAP. This is the FLAC event, or the major event organized by the Digital Accounting and Assurance Board. And today the result is also declared of the last examination. And many of the members scored very well. I hope some of them might be present here also. Now, once you qualified ESA, once you qualified CISA, whether at the national level or whether at the international level, even I hope some of you along with this are also qualified FAFD also, as well as many of you having very good knowledge bank with respect to the IT domain. Now here the fundamental question, once you having the value added qualification like DISA or CISA, as well as the CISA, as well as FAFD, as well as there are n number of tools and the technology now how to utilize, especially under the current scenario, when almost everywhere you people heard about the term that is layoff, as well as inflation, as well as the recession, as well as the global economy is into the bad shape. But parallel, like in management, I hope all of you heard about the term that is SWOT. That is a strength, weakness, opportunity, and threat. That whenever the crisis occurred in one part, at the same time, same moment, it will create opportunity into the other part. Now, at this moment, irrespective of the nature, irrespective of the size of the business organization, default will consider that data is the lifeline and technology is the driver. Whether a particular business organization is involved into manufacturing or whether a particular business organization is involved into the service sector, whether it is a banking, whether it is insurance, whether it is e-commerce. So, and again, whether a particular business organization is working at the small level or whether the particular business organization is working at the large side, just like a Gautam Adani, Mukesh Ambani, or Elon Musk. So every organization now honestly admitted that data is the lifeline and technology is the driver. Now, if data is the lifeline, then default, we need required IES. And now technology is the driver, then default, we need required IT. Okay. And now here there is one more thing. Until unless there is no business, then there is no need of IES, then there is no need of IT. Okay. Now, before couple of years, just before couple of years, organizations were using, like even the banks also. Banks are already enabled with the CBS system, with the Finacle, with the FlaxCube, as well as with the Tex. TCS Bank from last around now 3 decades, I hope. And many of you are having very good exposure while performing the bank audits to use all this different type of the system. So now here there is one more thing. If data is the lifeline, now the type of the information system, those which we are using are 2 types. Like one is the standard information system and another is the ERP. Okay. And now let me use the one more version, especially considering the current business scenario. And I hope all of you would agree with me that out of 100%, 90 to 95% business organization, not globally, even in our country also now enabled with ERP. You name it, any banking organization, each and every bank is enabled with CBS. And CBS is nothing, but it is a type of ERP. Then again, you name it, any insurance company, then each and every insurance, like the second largest financial institute in the country after State Bank of India is LIC, is offering all the services to the end user as well as to the business associate, again via ERP. Okay, you name it, any manufacturing unit, whether it is automobile, whether it is FMCG, whether it is ITC, whether it is Unilever, even a small vendor also, unable to survive without ERP. So now default will consider that in place of the data, now if data is the lifeline, and now organizations are enabled with ERP. So can we say that even ERP is again the lifeline of each and every business organization? And now all of you are well versed with the different type of audits. Different type of audits, like whether it is a statutory audit, whether it is a bank audit, whether it is internal audit. Even I hope some of you might be having some exposure with the IES audit as well as the forensic audit. Forensic audit will consider the special case of audit where we more concern about investigation. Now, if organizations are enabled with ERP, so whenever we go for any type of audit, so default, although we are performing the different type of audit, but more or less, we have to communicate with the ERP system. So partially, we are doing the system audit. I hope all of you would agree with me. And now, the role of the auditor, I hope all of you well versed and agree with me that auditor always play the role of a mediator. Okay, auditor is not responsible to create the business cycle. Auditor is not responsible to execute the business cycle. Auditor is not even responsible that during the execution of the business cycle, if there is any type of the technical glitch, so to overcome. For that purpose, each and every organization having the domain expert or subject matter expert. Similarly, now, if organization is purely enabled with ERP. Now here there is one more thing. Because we are short of the time, so I hope many of you are sitting with the stationery. So I'll just use some key terms. From there, you people able to derive the number of opportunities. Now under the current scenario, there is hardly any business organization which is working under the homogeneous environment. Homogeneous environment means organizations are not dedicated doing the one type of the business. You name it, any business organization anywhere in the country, not even in the world. Each and every business organization now shifted from homogeneous to heterogeneous. Okay, means under the one organization, means under the one umbrella, minimum two or maybe there are n number of business verticals are running. Like for example, Mukesh Ambani, O to C, oil to chemical. Okay, Gautam Adani, port to airport. Okay, Tata, salt to, earlier we used to say salt to software, but now salt to airlines. Okay, ITC started journey with the tobacco, but ITC again now tobacco to the hotel as well as now into the confectionery sector. So you LIC, not only the insurance, but insurance plus banking plus housing finance, okay, home loan. So now organization shifted from homogeneous to heterogeneous. Okay, concern is organizations more concerned about to enhance, improve their productivity, more concerned about to enhance, improve their efficiency, as well as more concerned about to enhance, improve their effectiveness. Okay, and now the size of the organizations are huge. Now, if the size of the organizations are huge, then default without technology and without IES, they unable to survive. Please kindly just concentrate. From here only, the opportunity started. Whenever the organization give a thought to enable their business with IES and IT, now from here onwards, the role of IES auditor, according to me. And please, one more thing. From last couple of years, Institute, I hope all of you aware of, Institute is emphasizing to prepare each and every chartered accountant down the line to the Institute of Chartered Accountant, not to think like a chartered accountant, not even to think like an auditor, but to think like a consultant. Think like a consultant, because consultant is a broader profile. Okay, auditor is responsible just to play the key role at the end of the business cycle. Okay, that business cycle may be at the end of the quarter, that business cycle may be at the end of the half year, that business cycle may be at the end of the financial year, that is at the end of the fiscal. Okay, and at the end of the business cycle, auditor job is just to review, just to evaluate, just to examine. Okay, and what to evaluate, what to examine, what to review, that is the productivity and efficiency. Okay, but now organizations means each and every client down the line to each and every auditor. Now their expectation is totally changed, especially in last couple of years. And let me give weightage to my version why this particular domain is creating more and more opportunity. In last less than 7 days, I received 2 big assignments, and forcefully client is requesting me like anything that has early I should perform their IES audit. And not even the client is huge. Okay, leading is both the clients are the two leading startup organization, those which are highly popular in the country. Okay, because according to the governing body like RBI, governing body like NPCI, governing body like IRDA, governing body like CCI. Okay. Now, all this governing body, especially RBI and especially Competition Commission of India, okay, and even with the insurance, that is IRDA. Now, till date, most of the business organizations, whatever the IS and IT infrastructure they created, okay, especially in last 2.5 decades maximum, the journey of IS and IT with respect to our country, okay, of last 2.5 decades. So whenever any business organization created any IS and IT infrastructure, so they only concern about that whatever is their business objective, okay, and the manner in which they are performing the IT implementation. So that IT implementation, they always consider value added service with respect to their ultimate business goal, with respect to their ultimate business objective. Like, for example, State Bank of India. Now, before 3 decades, the ultimate goal, even before 4 decades, the ultimate objective of State Bank of India was banking, even today also. But now, State Bank of India, I hope all of you, please kindly just concentrate. Since 1st of April 2017 till 31st of March 2017, State Bank of India was a single unit. Since 1st April 2017 onwards, each and every associate bank of State Bank of India is merged under the umbrella of State Bank of India. I hope all of you would agree with me. Now, under the umbrella of State Bank of India, total 9 banks. Okay. Similarly, with PNB, now integration of 3 banks. Similarly, with Union Bank, integration of 3 banks. Okay. Similarly, if we'll consider the case of LIC, LIC is integration of 3 business organization, LIC plus HFL plus IDBI. Okay. Now, similarly, if we consider the case of the private sector, whether it is a Tata, whether it is Reliance, whether it is Gautam Adani, okay, in last 2 years, maximum in last 1 year, and again maximum in last 6 months, I hope all of you would agree with me. The manner in which merger and acquisition perform in our country, at this rate, never such type of the merger or acquisition. Even along with the merger acquisition, there is one more thing, that is the joint venture. Now, whenever the merger, acquisition or joint venture happened into the country, okay, then default, one of the organization honestly transfer their entire risk to the another business organization. Now, here from the IS point of view, please kindly just concentrate. Now, before merging, into merging, if suppose we'll consider, then minimum 2 business organizations were involved. Okay. Now, all of you are thoroughly aware of that before merging, each and every organization default, they approach to their respective auditor, okay, even to the chartered accountant, and perform the valuation. But along with this, there is one more challenging task. Before merging and after merging, that is pre-merging and post-merging, that is integration of technology. Okay, like before merging, State Bank of India, State Bank of Hyderabad, State Bank of Bikaner, before merging PNB, Oriental Bank of Commerce. Okay, before merging Air India, Air Vistara, okay, Singapore Airlines, all this having their own independent IS and IT infrastructure. They having their own dedicated database server. They having their own dedicated data warehousing. Okay, and I hope you people know the role of the database server, that whenever we'll think about the data, okay, then through database server basically perform the 3 important tasks, and database is the backbone of each and every IS. That is the data recording, data organization, okay, then which we known as the data processing. The second most important task, that is the data analysis. Okay. And then comes, that is the decision making. Okay. Then along with the database server, data warehousing, along with this, now each and every organization is enabled with ERP. And under the current scenario, along with the heterogeneous environment, most of the business organization, I hope all of you would agree with me, especially in last 2 years, more than 90% business organization before the start of COVID, either working dedicated under the offline mode or online mode. But today, you name it, any business organization, again, irrespective of the nature and size, more than 90% business organizations are working under the hybrid mode. Okay. Now, when organizations shifted from homogeneous to heterogeneous, when organization shifted from offline online to the hybrid mode, okay, as well as whenever the organization think about the joint venture, whenever the organization think about the merger, whenever the organization think about the equation, I hope all of you would agree with me that from auditor point of view, the major concern is risk assessment. Okay. And now if organizations are purely IT enabled, means like I mentioned, technology is the driver. Okay. Purely IT enabled, then now from the auditor point of view, especially IS auditor point of view, okay, now before merging, before joint venture, if suppose we'll consider the case of in merger acquisition or joint venture, minimum 2 business organizations are involved. Okay. Now, just assume there is organization A and organization B. Now, organization A having its own independent IES and IT infrastructure, having its own database server, having its own data warehouse. And now, even with respect to the database server, please kindly just concentrate. Now, considering the current business scenario, I hope all of you would agree with me. There is hardly any business organization, if organizations are now migrated from dedicated from offline and online mode to hybrid mode. Okay. Offline, online to the hybrid mode. Then now organizations are offering their services 24/7 and 365 days. Now, if 24/7, 365 days, they are offering their services, whether it is a banking, okay, whether it is insurance, whether it is FMCG, whether it is e-commerce, okay. So all services are now e-services, okay. So now 24/7, they are running their business model. 24/7, 365 days, they are running their business processes, okay. Business processes like with respect to the purchase, procurement, production, especially sales, finance. Okay. So now when business processes are running 24/7, 365 days. So now 24/7, 365 days, organizations are generating the data. Okay. Now, when organizations are generating 24/7, 365 days data. And this data is not only in one form. This data organization, like if suppose we'll consider the case of the banking, please kindly just concentrate. There are number of opportunity for you people. Before 2 decades, customer as well as the banker, okay, even the RBI also, like if we'll consider the sensitive business process with respect to the banking, that is the payment. Then with respect to the payment, before 2 decades, there was only one option was available, that customer must to visit to a dedicated bank branch, okay, must to visit dedicated cash counter, either for deposit and for withdrawal purpose. And payment process, we always consider from the auditor point of view, one of the most sensitive process. Okay. So before 2 decades, customer having only one option, to visit to the bank branch and during the working hours, perform this payment transaction. Although this facilities is still available. Okay. And this mode of transaction is known as offline mode, and which, according to each and every senior chartered accountant, which according to any senior banker is still advisable, because this is one of the safest mode of performing the payment transaction. Okay, but today, along with this, I hope all of you are aware of IMPS, all of you are aware of RTGS, all of you are aware of NEFT, all of you are aware of UPI, all of you now aware of eRupee. So now customer having multiple option, even the banks also introduce, and I hope all of you are aware of that. If suppose we'll consider only last 1 year and even last 6 months, then every passing moment, more and more, both public, both the corporate level as well as personal level banking customer, they both are performing heavy transaction via UPI. And whenever we'll think about the UPI, then default into the UPI transaction, there is involvement of the third party service provider, which is known as technically the e-wallet. Okay, like Phone Pay, okay, Google Pay, WhatsApp payment service provider, Paytm. Okay, there are hundreds of. Although at this moment the market leader is Phone Pay, which having the 43% according to NPCI and RBI. And then number 2 is Google Pay, which having the weightage of 37%. Now, payment is a sensitive transaction. Okay. And banks are not expertise. Okay. And now each and every bank is offering this, because each and every banking organization, just like any corporate house, just like any business organization, concern about customer satisfaction. Okay. And they want to be flexible according to the customer, because market is 100% buyer oriented. Okay. And now each and every business organization is now part of the global supply chain management. Okay, each and every business organization is a part of a demand chain management. Each and every business organization is a part of logistic chain management. Each and every business organization is a part of CRM. And all these are the implementation of ERP, because if there is no ERP, then there is no concept of supply chain management. So now number one opportunity for people like you, okay, those who are thoroughly understood or thoroughly educated about the role or functionality of the database, thoroughly aware or educated about the functionality of the, along with the database, about the networking, about the hardware, about the software. Okay, then now no organization is able to survive without ERP. Now, whenever the organization give a thought, because every information system is not a type of ERP. Okay, standard information system are simply data oriented, but ERPs are process oriented. And I hope all of you would agree with me that without involvement of consultant, no business organization think about to implement ERP. Now, whenever the organization think about not even the implementation, means whenever they think about to implement ERP, or even if suppose they think about to migrate from one ERP to another ERP, as well as whenever the organization think about, like suppose till date, a particular business organization simply working with the tele environment. Okay, they are not using any dedicated ERP like SAP. So they are not familiar that what about the role of SAP FICO, what about the role or functionality of SAP PP, what about the role or functionality of SAP MM, what about the role or functionality of SAP GRC, what about the role or functionality of SAP BW, what about the role or functionality of SAP HANA. Okay, so they were simply working with the tele environment. Like India is a hub of SME and MSME. Okay, and most of the business organization, I hope all of you having experience, even till date, they are working with the tele server, and tele, which is dedicated with respect to the accounting, partially supported inventory. Okay, but now when these organizations associated the good with the good manufacturing unit or the large scale business organization which is already enabled with SAP. So now it is mandatory that they also must to implement ERP. Okay. And suppose you having the client which till date was working under the Tele environment, but now planning to migrate from Tele to SAP, even in place of SAP, maybe Microsoft Dynamics, in place of this, maybe any customized ERP. Okay, according to the nature of the business organization. Okay, even with respect to the banking also. Okay, like whenever the new version of Finacle, okay, whenever the new version of TCS Bank would be launched, then again to migrate from the older version to the new version, then always there is opportunity that organization always shake hand with the consultant, because they honestly transfer the entire risk of implementation of ERP over the consultant. But consultant, we always consider, and people like you, and I hope so that many of you, I hope so, I'm 100% sure that many of you having very good exposure with the ERP. Okay. And some of you definitely, their primary source of revenue generation would be ERP implementation, because I know there are many chartered accountants in the country, those which are expertise only in ERP implementation. Okay. And now, if you expertise just in ERP implementation, now here the fundamental role, okay, where many of the business owner, where many of the business organizations having the vulnerability. And from auditor point of view, I hope all of you would agree with me, wherever the vulnerability exists into the business, it will create opportunity for the auditor. I hope all of you would agree with me, because wherever the vulnerability, we have to provide the solution as a consultant. Okay. Now, vulnerability number one with respect to the ERP implementation. Most of this SME and MSME, even the big organizations also, but I'm considering like most of you are handling SME and MSME. Most of the SME and MSME, when they started their business operation, suppose particular SME started its business operation before 2 decades, maybe a before decade. Now their focus area is just business productivity. Their focus area is just to generate the revenue. Their focus area is to perform the recording of the business transaction. Okay, the data which they are generating with respect to the material, raw material, data which they are generating with respect to their employee, that is the payroll system, data which they are generating with respect to their business associates, like the vendor, just to perform the recording of this data and just to perform. Okay, but now whenever they think about to migrate to ERP, now number one vulnerability, all these SME or MSMEs are not well structured. Okay, and without structuring, we unable to implement ERP. I hope all of you would agree with me. Normal information system like a tele system, we can implement without structuring. But whenever the organization think about to implement ERP, they must to be well structured, and here need required well qualified, and person should be domain expert and the subject matter expert. Now what do you mean by domain expert? Please kindly just concentrate. Now ERP we are using in manufacturing sector, ERPs we are using into the service sector. And please, this is my humble request, you should be domain expert. Okay, domain expert means like you expertise into the pharmaceutical sector, you expertise into the FMCG, you expertise into the banking, even the cooperative banks also. Okay, you expertise into the real estate. Okay, then you should be thorough with the complete business model, with the complete business process, which is known as the WFM. That is the workflow management, that how the output of one business process is interlinked or interrelated to the another business process. Okay, so here you are not responsible to purchase the ERP, even you are not responsible to use that ERP, but you are responsible as a consultant to suggest organization that which ERP is the best ERP, okay, as an advisor. Then number two, you are responsible once you suggested to the client that which ERP, number one opportunity. Now the second vulnerability, because many of the business owner, because at this moment there are hundreds of ERPs are available, hundreds of options are available, but which ERP is the best according to the business need, according to the business requirement. So each and every organization always searching the domain expert, means a consultant who can help them to suggest them that which ERP, and here to perform the risk assessment, because each and every ERP having some type of vulnerability also. So you should be thoroughly educated before going to suggest to the client that which ERP is the best ERP and why you are suggesting a particular ERP in place of another, because maybe the client can raise you the cross question. Why not? I should go for Oracle. Why you are suggesting me SAP? Although my business requirement would be fulfilled via Oracle e-business, why are you suggesting me a particular module of SAP? So you should having a thorough knowledge. Okay. Then to perform the structuring. Okay, now while performing the structuring, now here this is my observation, especially in last couple of years maximum, in last 1 year I am observing maximum, like is even with the startup also. Okay, it is now mandatory that they all must to perform, they must to perform implementation of the best ERP and then later on the audit also. But nobody performed the documentation also. Okay, hardly any SME or MSME, even hardly there is any startup which having a proper documentation, means whatever the business they are doing. Okay, even if suppose they purchase a particular hardware, okay, from a particular service provider, because no business organization, whether it is a manufacturing or the service, they are not expertise in manufacturing the hardware. But from the auditor point of view, I hope all of you would agree with me. Now to implement the ERP, need required a proper IT infrastructure. Okay, now proper IT infrastructure means need required the specific configuration of server machine, need required a specific configuration of not only one server. Okay, now as per the volume of the data, because now we shifted from the data to the big data. Okay, so as per the volume of the data, many of the business organization, their fundamental vulnerability, they unable to plan properly. Okay, even this is the vulnerability they are lacking. Okay, that which configuration server. Okay, then again selection of the hardware, then documentation again, means from whomsoever they are purchasing. Now need required SLA, that is the service level agreement. Okay, so service level agreement with respect to the hardware service provider and service level agreement with respect to the software solution provider, because ERP is in the form of a software solution. Okay, but to run the ERP need require the hardware. Okay, and now there are different vendor. Through one vendor, organization would going to purchase the hardware. Through another vendor, organization would going to purchase the software, maybe in the form of the ERP. Okay, then another thing. Now, to run the ERP, organization must need require the network. Okay, now to require the network, again, many of the business organizations, they are not expertise, so they outsource their services. Okay, then again need another service level agreement. But now here, what would be the flow of the network? How one business unit would be linked to the another business unit? Now this WFM would be defined by, just like an architect in the real estate, would be created by the auditor, would be created by the consultant. So you not only going to play the role at the end of the business cycle, even whenever the organization think about from the scratch to implement, even if suppose organization planning to upgrade their existing ERP, organization planning to upgrade their existing hardware, organization planning to upgrade their existing network. Okay, Now the reason, like a moment before I mentioned, now there is hardly any business organization which is working only with the data. Okay, because now 24/7 organizations are working. Okay, now most of the data organizations are not generating via user. Now, along with the user, organizations are generating the huge volume of data via CCTV, via biometric devices, via barcode reader, okay, via scanner. Because, like, if suppose we'll consider the case of a petrol pump, okay, every second user is performing now the payment transaction via QR. Okay, so now this data is in the form of a structured data, which is in the tabular form. Okay, this data is in the form of unstructured data, which is mostly in the form of images, which is in the form of audio, which is in the form of the video. Okay, along with this, whatever the internal business reports organizations are generating, like if suppose we'll consider the case of any chartered accountant, even the auditor also. Okay, both the chartered accountant as well as now both with respect to the Central Board of Direct Taxation as well as Central Board of Indirect Taxation and Custom. Okay, when will the final reports upload by any chartered accountant as well as auditor, either with respect to taxation as well as with respect to the audit. So final reports are either in the form of JSON, XML. Okay, I hope all of you well versed. Now the data which is in the form of JSON, XML, PDF, CSV, okay, HTML, TXT. Now this form of the data would come under the semi-structured. Now here there is a complexity. Like at the beginning I mentioned, data is the lifeline. And now data is converted into the big data. And now there is hardly any business organization which is working only with the data. Every second organization is working with the big data. Now the challenge is organizations concerned about ROI, because with the big data we always use 4V, that is volume, velocity, variety and veracity. Okay, now this data is coming in variety of form. This data is coming in the structured form. This data is coming in the semi-structured form. This data is coming under unstructured form. Please kindly just concentrate. And now here there is one more thing. Some of the data is standard data. Some of the data is sensitive data. Sensitive data we also known as critical data. Then some of the data is highly sensitive or highly critical data. And now here the question is, although under the current scenario, I hope all of you would agree with me, there is hardly any business organization which is not enabled with the cloud. Okay, and now the main attraction of the cloud from any IAS auditor point of view, even from any professional point of view, that they able to minimize their input cost, that is the processing cost. Okay, and now the main attraction of the cloud is, in place of their primary storage, means in place of the physical server. Suppose within the organization having one unit of database server, okay, which is in the physical form. Now this server having the limited capacity, but they consider that cloud having the infinite capacity. Okay, this is what the attraction. Okay, and now in place of upgrading, means along with the one server, second server, so additional input cost would be involved. Okay, so in place of this, organization always give the weightage to the cloud, because they don't need to think about to upgrade their hardware configuration, as well as somewhere they able to minimize the input cost with respect to the hardware. But here there is a vulnerability. There is another vulnerability. Okay, now one vulnerability, like I mentioned, selection of ERP. Another vulnerability with respect to the structuring. Now another vulnerability with respect to the documentation. Now wherever the vulnerability, then default threat would also exist. Okay, and if organization unable to overcome this, then default these vulnerability would be converted into the risk. Okay, and then later on having the huge impact. Now just have a look. Now although organizations are using parallel storage, means organizations are using the physical storage as well as they are using the cloud storage. That cloud storage may be AWS, that cloud storage may be Microsoft Azure, that cloud storage may be the Google Cloud, that cloud storage may be the IBM Cloud, that cloud storage may be the Oracle Cloud. And now please kindly, all these are the third-party service provider. Okay, now data is the valuable asset for each and every business organization point of view. And what I mentioned a moment before, some of the data is standard data, some of the data is sensitive data, some of the data is highly sensitive data. And now this again become a challenge for many of the business organizations, that they are unable to perform the risk assessment, they are unable to perform the risk analysis. Okay, even they are not aware of the worth of their asset. Okay, asset like their business model is their asset. Okay, their business process is their asset, their data is their asset, their database server is their asset. Okay, now here, where to keep which data? Okay, because even they don't have the knowledge, they don't have any awareness that which data is the standard data, which data is the sensitive, and which is highly. Now here it will create opportunity for people like you, especially those who are the qualified IAS auditor and those who possess a very good understanding about the data, big data, as well as the database. Okay, now to perform the risk analysis and to help the organization that where they should keep their standard data. Because again, with respect to the, along with the cloud service provider, CSP, they are using their physical storage. Okay, but they are unable to perform the right planning, that which data they should keep into the physical server, which data they should keep with the third party service provider. And again, with respect to the cloud, again they are using the three type of the cloud. Now kindly just have a look. We are not into the training session, but this is what the opportunity. Okay, because more and more facility, more and more flexibility available, it will create more and more complexity. Okay, and more complexity than from many of the, especially SME and small scale business organization point of view and macro level business organization point of view, where they don't have subject matter expert. Subject matter expert means they don't have a proper DBA, they don't have a proper SA, that is a system administrator. DBA means a database administrator. DA, that is a data administrator. They don't have a proper network administrator. Okay, means one person is managing the entire IT infrastructure, and that one person is coordinating with the each and every operation related to the physical server as well as related to the cloud. I hope many of you are having experience during the time of real time of audit. And this is a fundamental vulnerability where from the auditor point of view, we always advise that there should be segmentation. Okay, and according to the job role, define the task, because this is a one type of a preventive control. Because with respect to each and every vulnerability, with respect to each and every threat, and with respect to each and every risk, auditor always having one solution, that is a control. And along with the control, there is no existence of any control without policy. Okay, and now before going to suggest any control, auditor must perform the risk assessment, must perform the risk analysis. Now whenever we'll think about to perform the risk and after the risk analysis would come the risk response, that whether the organization having the appetite to digest a particular risk. Like for example, in less than a week, I hope all of you are aware of, Gautam Adani lost more than $100 billion. Okay, now risk appetite of Gautam Adani and risk appetite of Mukesh Ambani is totally different than the risk appetite or risk tolerance of many small scale business owner. Okay, they don't have the capacity. Okay, so now here they required the help of you people. Okay, means to perform where that which selection would be the appropriate. Now here to perform this risk analysis, there is one more emerging area would come into the picture for you people. Parallel, please, everything you have to connect from the auditor point of view. You have not to think anything else. Okay. You should be thorough with data. You should be thorough with the big data. You should be thorough with the database, although you are not responsible to populate the database, because database would be populated by the business user. Business user like person working under the purchase department, person working under the finance department, person working under the production department, person working under the sales department. Now, whenever they execute the business process, default they will generate the data, and that data would be managed by the DBA. Okay, but auditor help them that how to regulate. Okay, how to regulate, how to standardize. Okay, as well as now we concern about according to RBI. Okay, according to the Ministry of Information Technology and Telecommunication, as well as Ministry of Corporate Affairs, according to the Piyush Goyal. Now we concern about the data authenticity, we concern about the data governance, we concern about where to keep which data. And many of the business owners, they don't have any knowledge. Even their IT team, their IT professionals, they are not aware of, because their objective is anyhow the application should run. Okay, the least concern about where to keep the data. And now this is again the vulnerability. So here, auditor has to perform the risk analysis, and this risk analysis is nothing but this is the data analytics. This is the data analytics, because what I mentioned, which data is the standard data, which data is the sensitive data, which data is the highly sensitive data, how you came to know. Okay, and what about the worth of that data to the business organization? Must to perform the data analysis. Okay, now data analysis we always perform. Like at this moment, suppose I'm interested to know through Raghuji, through Neerajji, that total how many members are attending this session, then how many members are from Varanasi and how many members are from rest of the country. So I will get this answer while performing the simple data analysis. But then I'm interested to know out of the total member, those who are attending only from Varanasi, okay, how many members having experience more than 2 decades, how many members having experience more than 10 decades, then how many members are expertise dedicated into IS and IT, how many members are expertise into merger acquisition, how many members expertise into insolvency. Okay, so over the analysis, now I want to perform more analysis. So this come under the data analytics, means from the data I want to derive the more data. Please, because, and it is always advisable that audit always have to be performed at the micro level. And now whenever we'll think about, because now the organization concerned about that auditors should perform the thorough risk analysis, because they concern about implementation of effective control, because data is a most valuable asset. Okay, and now whenever we'll think about IS or IT infrastructure security, okay, then whenever we'll think about the security, especially from the auditor point of view, then default auditor think about the risk, vulnerability and threat. Okay, and solution is the control. But before going to advise any control, must to perform thorough risk analysis, and this risk analysis is nothing but this is the data analysis, and not the data analysis at the superficial level. Within the data we have to derive another data. Okay, means after performing one test, second test, after performing second test, third test, and what I mentioned a moment before, now there is hardly any business organization which is working with the data. Now organizations migrated from data to the big data, and now here there is one more challenge. Now every second business organization is concerned about, as well as there is hardly any business organization which is not affected by data breach, data stolen, data privacy. Okay. And each and every organization, they concern about three terms. And these three terms are the major concern from any IAS auditor point of view. Number one, C, number two, I, and number third, A. That is confidentiality, integrity, and availability. And now when we'll think about this, and when we'll think about the solution related to the data breach, data stolen, and data privacy, then now after the data analysis, successor of data analysis is data analytics. And now the successor of data analytics is machine learning. Please kindly just concentrate how the opportunity, and this is my humble request, more and more you people upgrade yourself about the tools and technology. Okay. And more you go inside, it will create more and more opportunity. Okay. And now through this machine learning and through the data analytics, organizations are not expecting from the chartered accountant, especially from the auditor. They are not expecting that auditors should simply come and review their system. Okay. And not only auditors should perform only the simple security analysis, but now there is one more additional there is one more additional expectation of each and every client. And I hope all of you would agree with me, because this expectation might be your client also communicated to you also. And this expectation that at the end of each and every audit, each and every client always expect that auditor should help them like a consultant, that what new they can derive from their existing business. Because before decade, even before 1.5 decades, maximum before decade, maximum organizations were concerned about to prepare their database. Okay. Means their major concern before 1.5 decades, before 2 decades, even maximum before decade, to populate their database. But today, each and every organization, even at the small level, they are overloaded with the data. Okay. Because now this data is converted into the big data. And now there is another challenge, how they can optimum utilize their data bank. Means whatever the data they already populated into their database server, they're not only concerned about the security, they're not only concerned about the authenticity, definitely they're concerned about. And this again create the opportunity with respect to the vulnerability issue and the control. But parallel, they're concerned about that auditors should help them, that from their existing business they can create a new business vertical. So now if auditor, especially IAS auditor, possess a thorough knowledge about the big data analytics, okay, and whenever we'll think about the big data analytics, then default there is only one solution at this moment. Big data analytics means one should be thorough with the big data, and this big data is now converted into the big database. Please kindly just concentrate. Now, when this big data is converted into the big database, so now here there is one more emerging opportunity for you people. Please kindly, in short of time, there are number of things I'm connecting, because then you people, at least you just feel like that I'm just playing the role of ignition right now. We can discuss all this in detail thoroughly. Maybe we'll get the chance to interact sometime. Okay. Now there is one more. What I mentioned at the beginning, that at this moment 90 to 95% business organization enabled with the ERP. And I hope all of you would agree with me that each and every ERP is always working only onto one punchline, that is right information, right user at the right time. And each and every ERP is strictly defined on one principle, that is JIT, just in time. And with ERP, the main attraction is centralized repository system. Okay. But whether it is Finacle, whether it is CBS system, whether it is any type of ERP with respect to any business organization, because till date, every organization successfully implemented the ERP. But now organization concerned about the security. And now from ERP, there is a new opportunity for IAS auditor. Now ERP system to decompose into the distributed system. And when we'll think about the distributed system, I hope all of you are able to see where is my arrow. This distributed database system, and now this new emerging area, that is the Hadoop. Okay, now again the challenges with the big database, because this big data we want to convert, we want to prepare with respect to the big database. Okay, but big database we unable to populate. Even this won't be advisable to keep into the centralized server, because then the risk would be maximum, and auditor always concerned about to mitigate the risk, and this is again a one type of the control. Okay, so now how to migrate from centralized database, means along with the ERP, along with existing SAP system with respect to the big data analytics. Now organization concerned about to implement distributed database system, and now here organization again need a new type of a consultant, again need a new type of a consultant come auditor who can perform the risk assessment, risk analysis before installation, before migration from existing system to the new system. Okay, how to and where to keep which data, because this is under both with the physical environment, with the physical storage, has with respect to the cloud storage also. Okay, might be some of you, I hope, aware of this Hadoop system, which is highly popular. Okay, and now this is again the one more attraction with respect to the blockchain also. Into the blockchain also, I hope those of you, because blockchain, the main attraction, the main keyword, that is the hashing. Okay, hashing, which is a successor of the cryptography. Like cryptography is a two-way process, and hashing is a one-way process. Now here again, opportunity for you where to implement cryptography and where to implement hashing, because input cost is involved. Although till date, like each and every chartered accountant is well versed about the digital signature, and digital signatures are purely based on the cryptography. But now we aware of, like each and every auditor is aware of, that in place of cryptography, hashing is a better solution. Okay, but there is additional input cost is involved. Okay, now with respect to which data to implement hashing, and with respect to which database to implement hashing, and with respect to which database to implement the cryptography, many of the business organization they're not aware of. So again, they need required the help of people like you, those who can help them, advise them. So one should be thorough even here with respect to how to migrate from the centralized system to the distributed system, because in blockchain also, whenever we implement the blockchain, then the solution would be the blockchain database. Blockchain database. Okay. And now most of the business organization, you name it, whether it is a Tata, whether even with respect to the Finacle also, you name it, any banking application, you name it, any insurance application, now everywhere we concern about the data security, and solution is only the blockchain. And blockchain we always implemented in the form of the database, but where it should be and how the structure would be. So first of all, auditor and the person who is expertise should be thorough. Okay, so before going to implement, before going to advise with respect to the Hadoop system, you should be thorough with the distributed database. Okay, and this is a form of the database. Please kindly concentrate. Till date, we were using the SQL database. Like I hope all of you are aware of MySQL, all of you are aware of the Oracle database. Okay, and what I mentioned a moment before, there is hardly any business organization which is dealing only with one form of the data, that is homogeneous data, which is known as the structured data. Because till date, all of you, I'm 100% sure, having very good experience, having very good exposure, how to deal with the structured data. But the volume of the structured data, which is in the tabular form, is much, much lesser than the volume of the data which we are generating in the form of the semi-structured and the unstructured data. So now in place of using SQL, now we are using another successor of SQL. I hope some of you might be aware of, and this is my humble request, whatever the terms I'm using, if some of the areas you people expertise, there are endless opportunity. Now the successor of SQL we are using, that is NoSQL. Okay, NoSQL, that doesn't mean there is no SQL. Okay, NoSQL means not only SQL, means along with the SQL database which is in the structured form. Now we need required the database which able to manage documents, the data which we are generating in the form of images, audio, video. Okay, this data we are considering in the form of the document. So now there is a new form of the database we are preparing, which is in the form of the document. And I hope some of you might be aware of the market leader, the tool which extensively we are using, that is the Mongo database. Mongo database, please, if you really, because many of the business organization, they already migrated from existing to this new environment. Even they are already club and they are planning to club, and now they need required people like you to help them how to perform this. Means along with the existing SQL database, now organizations planning to implement NoSQL database, which is in the form of the MongoDB, which is in the form of the distributed database. So now vulnerability associated with respect to the structured database, they like to overcome. But first of all, they need from the auditor that whether it is advisable or not, whether there should be enhancement in their productivity or not. Okay, now along with this, whenever we'll think about now with respect to the big data analytics, then now organization concerned about the big challenges, even like from the chartered accountant, the big challenges at this moment, Raghuji, Neerajji, as well as all of you would agree with me. The big challenges at this moment for each and every chartered accountant is to retain the client. Okay, similarly, with respect to the business organization, the big challenge is to retain their customer. Okay, as well as with respect to the supply chain management, how to maintain a streamline with respect to the vendor, with respect to the warehouse service provider, with respect to the point of sale, with respect to the customer. Because when size of the chain is huge, then there are number of vulnerability. Okay, and if any of the entity disturb, then impact would come. So now here we more concerned about the pattern recognition. Okay, means pattern recognition, that is the behavioral part. What about the behavioral part of the customer? What about the behavioral part of the vendor? What about the behavioral part of the defaulter? Okay, every defaulter is not a willful defaulter. Okay, then what is the difference between the behavior of the willful defaulter and the genuine defaulter? What is the difference between the willful defaulter? How this willful defaulter converted into the fugitive defaulter, that is FUGITIV. So now here this machine learning is playing a key role from IS auditor point of view. Even people, those who really want to be expertise or provide the special services as a consultant. Okay, now what about this machine learning? Whenever we'll think about along with the simple analysis, with the business productivity, pattern recognition. Okay, concern about the detection where the fraud happened. What about the impact of that fraud over the business organization? Where the loophole? Okay, who is how the sudden change happened into the behavioral part of one of the most promising employee. So all this we can detect via machine learning, and machine learning, just for your knowledge, would be the game changer for each and every chartered accountant. Okay, and now whenever we'll think about the machine learning, then with respect to the machine learning, default will consider that person should be thorough with the business domain, person should be thorough with the data analytics, person should be thorough with the concept of algorithm. And now here I'm using the key term with machine learning, that is the algorithm. Okay. And this same algorithm concept we are using with the blockchain also. And in the blockchain, this concept is known as a smart contract. Please, there are multiple opportunity for you people. For security purpose, we are using the blockchain. For analysis purpose, we are using the machine learning. But in both, without algorithm, we are unable to. Okay, because in a smart contract, process automatically execute, which you also known as robotic process automation. Okay. And whenever the business process execute, okay, then each and every business process always governed by the business logic. Okay. Now here, to prepare the smart contract, this which is a one type of a standard policy. Okay, more or less it is a type of algorithm. Similarly, with respect to the machine learning, according to the nature of the business organization, according to the type of the business process, according to the type of the data which organizations are generating, they want to perform this specific type of the analysis. They want to perform this specific type of the specific type of the pattern recognition. Like for example, according to the Central Board of Direct Taxation, okay, first time in the history of Central Board of Direct Taxation, I hope all of you would agree with me and aware of, according to the latest report, maximum taxpayer, especially with respect to the direct taxation, even percentage of this defaulter would be maximum with respect to the indirect, with respect to the GST. Okay, maximum people, they are reporting, there is a huge question mark, means a red flag, according to the Central Board of Direct Taxation with respect to the taxation report submitted by each and every personal user with respect to the Central Board, and maximum with respect to the maximum account. I'm not using the term chartered accountant. Okay. According to the Central Board of Direct Taxation, now they already announced the scrutiny, okay, as well as the detection with respect to maximum such, and there would be a revision in the tax liability. Now this percentage would be huge with respect to the indirect as well as with respect to the GST, because according to the Central Board of Indirect Taxation and the Custom, GST is not simply a successor of VAT, but GST is a type of a control. But the percentage of the fraud happening with respect to the GST every passing day would again gradually increasing, and more bigger organization, then the type of the GST fraud would be more deeper. Okay, like I hope all of you well versed about the story of Chanda Kochar, Deepak Kochar, Venugopal Dutt, Chitra Ramakrishnan. So all such type of the cases, Rana Kapoor, okay, how Rana Kapoor linked to Malvinder, Shivinder and Anil Ambani, how Rana Kapoor now linked to Sukesh Kumar, and there are n number of Bollywood question mark. Okay, all this you can detect via this machine learning only, which is the emerging area. But what about this machine learning? Machine learning dedicated we are using for analysis. And whenever we'll think about the machine learning, then default will think about that person should be thorough with algorithm. Okay, now how to prepare algorithm? This is the one area for people like you, emerging area. Another area you able to perform this analysis, which is even you can create a dedicated vertical down the line to your firm to provide the effective solution to the business organization, not only with respect to unethical practices, but via machine learning, you help them where they should perform changes into their existing business cycle, then their productivity would enhance or improve, because in their business cycle there are some type of vulnerability exist into their current business process model. Okay, and many times what happen, business owner they are not aware of. Okay, but if you can detect via machine learning and help them to guide, this again become a one more additional revenue source model. Because according to me as a professional, after detecting the vulnerability, after suggesting the solution in the form of the effective control, after performing enhancement into our knowledge level, we also concern about enhancement into our revenue generation. That's why we always look for the value added learning. I hope all of you, because at the end of the day, there should be some monetary gain and there should be enhancement into the monetary gain. Okay, so here, this machine learning would be the game changer, and the successor of this machine learning is the deep learning, where there are few organizations where we are using NLP and the speech recognition. NLP, that is natural language processing, okay, and then speech recognition, which is the next level. But at this moment, this is my humble request, if you just focus on to, but to expertise into the machine learning. Machine learning is a subset or successor of artificial intelligence. Then default will consider that person should be thorough into artificial intelligence. Now, artificial intelligence we are utilizing with respect to the machine learning, artificial intelligence we are utilizing with respect to the process automation. Okay, means whenever we'll think about 100%, earlier we were using the version paperless organization. Now organization are using unmanned business organization. Unmanned business organization, like maybe down the line to 2 year or 5 year, just like State Bank of India. In last 1 decade, in all the major cities, installed the e-corner, like for deposit purpose, withdrawal purpose, passbook update purpose. Okay, check deposit check, which technically is known as the instrument. Now, in place of performing the transaction between the customer and the banker, now the transaction between the customer and the machine, okay, which is a one level of implementation of AI. Okay, now the second level, each and every business process, either with respect to the banking, with respect to the insurance, not only automation, 100% means 100% purely automated. And now, whenever we'll think about the pure automation, business automation, 100%, you think about and the solution is ready. Okay, just like the vending machine. Okay, here the AI. So now here, this one area is machine learning, which extensively we are using for data analytics purpose. And data analytics, even you people from auditor point of view, we are using for risk analysis purpose. And data analytics and this machine learning, even we are performing to perform assessment with respect to the control also, assessment with respect to the compliance also. Because whenever we perform the IS audit, we always perform the control assessment. We always test the strength of the control, whether the control is effective or not according to the type of the business process. Because just like the data, like every data is not a standard data, similarly, every business process is not a standard business process. Some of the business process are standard, some of the business process are critical, some of the business process are highly critical. Okay, so now whenever to perform this automation, again, organization need required, although organization think about to implement robotic process automation. Now, with robotic process automation, organization concern about the flexibility, that is the agile behavior. But parallel, or there are some vulnerability also associated. Now, how to overcome those vulnerability? Organization need required the help of you people. Okay, so this extensively we are using. Now, along with this, there is one more area. I hope you all able to see where is my cursor. That is migration. Like at the beginning, I mentioned that at this moment, there are maximum merger, acquisition, joint ventures happening. Okay, now before merging, whatever the ERP organization was using, okay, after merging, the big challenge is to integrate. Means before merging, two organizations were having their own independent IS and IT infrastructure. Now, after merging, like for example, I hope all of you well versed as well as aware of the real life case study. Tata already announced, like Tata initially running the till date, Tata running the 2 airlines under the joint venture. Okay, like one is Air Vistara with Singapore Airlines, another is Air Asia India with Air Asia Malaysian Airlines, Tony Fernandez. Okay, now Tata, after the joint venture, Tata acquire Air India, and now Tata declare that in next 1 year going to integrate all these 3 airlines. Now, I hope all of you would agree with me. With respect to the Air Vistara, Tata having own independent IS and IT infrastructure. With respect to Air Asia India, Tata having dedicated IS and IT infrastructure, means there is a dedicated database server, web server, application server, they are dedicated user. Okay, similarly, with respect to Air India, although Air India Tata acquire, but Tata acquire the entire IS and IT infrastructure also. I hope all of you would agree with me. And now Tata Sons declare, like N. Chandrasekharan, the person who is onto the driver's seat declare, now all these 3 would going to be integrated. Now, before integration of the technology, must perform the review risk assessment, like if there is any vulnerability already exist into the Air India database system, if any vulnerability already exists into the network of the Air India system, if there is any vulnerability already exist into the Air India web server, application server, okay, even into the cloud also, and later on when this Air India system would going to be associate or integrated with the Air Vistara, so this vulnerability would going to be spread out, and might be it would be a challenging task for the organization that after merging of the technology to overcome, then having a huge impact, which is known as BIA, business impact analysis. So now here, whenever the organization at any level, even at a small level also, think about the merger equation, the big challenges before merging of the technology must perform one, pre-audit, pre-analysis, and then after merging, before going to launch the new system, it is always advisable to perform the post-integration audit as well as the post-integration review. And we need a very expertise auditor, especially with respect to this domain. This is the job of IS auditor. IS auditor, those who not only possess a very good knowledge about the database, about the networking, about the hardware, about the software, about the data analytics, about the ERP, but possess an excellent knowledge how to integrate the technology, how to perform risk assessment with respect to the vulnerability, with respect to the threats, with respect to the risk appetite before and after merging. And this is, I am telling you, there are hardly few auditor are available, even the globally. Okay, those who can, and this is one of the most emerging area. Like at this moment, if some of you able to prepare yourself and you just propose that I'm expertise, because there is hardly any startup. Like for example, why I hope I just give you a practical case. Then you people, I hope all of you are aware of the Paytm. Now till date, everybody aware of as well as heard about the good part of the Paytm. Okay, like Vijay Shekhar Sharma launch the first e-wallet in the country, which is a cut copy paste of PayPal. Okay, which is basically the UPI system. And for UPI system, there is a dedicated governing body in the country, that is NPCI, National Payment Corporation of India. Now NPCI coordinate with RBI. Okay, now each and every bank is offering UPI services. Okay, now I hope all of you are aware of, through e-wallet, Vijay Shekhar Sharma created a new business vertical, that is Paytm Bank, which is basically a payment bank. Okay, then third business vertical, that is Paytm Mall, which is a virtual mall. But I hope all of you are aware of that last 4 months, according to RBI is forcing to Vijay Shekhar Sharma that you are not allowed to create any new merchant banker until, because now we are following the two model, B2B and B2C. Okay, and vulnerability exists between. B2B would be totally different than the vulnerability exists with respect to B2C. Okay, and I'm intentionally using, please, you should be thorough with all this, because under the supply chain management, we are using both this, B2B and B2C. Now, according to RBI, I hope all of you are aware of, Paytm must to perform the IS audit. Razor Pay must to perform the IS audit, then they are eligible to create a new customer. And now there is hardly few chartered accountant, hardly few auditor are available. Although there are many auditors are available, those who are DISA and CISA qualified in the country, but those who thoroughly educated that how to perform audit of the e-wallet or e-payment service provider like a Razor Pay, because the business model followed by, now from the layman point of view, Paytm is a payment gateway, Razor Pay is a payment bank, okay, as well as Phone Pay is again, but the business model followed by, okay. And now until unless you are not thorough about their business model, you are not fit to perform the real IS audit. Similarly, the latest audit assignment which I received of one of the leading e-commerce company. Now, what about that e-commerce company? They are dedicated into e-grocery business, okay, providing services throughout the nationwide, having n number of warehouses. Please kindly, they already having the successful, okay, and they are using the customized ERP, and the backbone is the SAP, okay, but no documentation, okay. Another thing, even with respect to that e-commerce company, they are enabled, they are availing the services with some of the e-wallet service provider, both with respect to their B2B as well as B2C transaction, but till date they never perform any IS audit. Now, according to the new guidelines of RBI, I hope all of you are aware of, and this is strictly with respect to each and every startup, they must to perform their IS audit, okay. And now this create a huge opportunity for each and every qualified IS auditor, which also known as the system audit, which is also known as the IT audit, and more or less a process is purely IT enabled because business objective is equal to IT implementation. So there are n number of opportunities are available, even dedicated with respect to IS audit. And just down the line to couple of years, now number one is this IS audit. Number two, data analytics, data science. Number third, even when organization think about to migrate their existing ERP from physical server to the cloud enabled ERP, now vulnerability associated with respect to the physical server and vulnerability associated with respect to cloud server would be totally different. Although cloud having the attraction, but again, they need required help of people like you before and after pre-cloud implementation with existing ERP and post-cloud implementation to perform the review. That is more or less is the audit, okay, and to perform the risk assessment. Please, you have not to do anything because auditor always deal with the risk assessment. Auditor always perform the risk analysis, and only with respect to the risk analysis you have to use the data analytics and the data science. You have not to think other than your domain. Okay, now here under the IT migration, now whenever the organization planning to migrate from one ERP to another ERP, okay, migrate from one technology, like I mentioned, till date, organizations are working under the ERP environment. And now parallel to ERP, they are planning to implement Hadoop distributed database. So now, even some of the organization, they are planning to migrate from centralized to distributed. Some of the organization planning parallel to centralized implement the distributed system. So now Here again required a different type of a consultant, and this is again the one more emerging area for people like you. Okay, and now this I already, that is the merger acquisition and the joint venture. Then another emerging area, that is the cyber security. Like, cyber security is nothing from the auditor point of view, and according to me, each and every auditor, especially qualified IAS auditor, and some of you those who are qualified FAFD also, they can play the key role, because here under the cyber security the main solution is control and the policy. Control, policy, and we require the effective compliance. Okay, now control we need at the user level. Some users are internal users, some users are external user. Okay, then internal users, some users are low level, some users are middle level, some users are top level. Okay, external user, vendor, external user, warehouse service provider, external user, point of sale, retailer, dealer, external user, customer. Okay, so their accessibility of privileges are different. Okay, so require the effective control, effective policy. Now many of the business organization till date, they successfully implemented the supply chain management, they successfully connected them via ERP, because without ERP we are unable to implement supply chain management. Okay, and they only concern about that all this relevant user, according to their job role, according to their functionality, can able to access the data, can able to retrieve the data, can able to post the data, as well as according to their privileges or accesses, they can manipulate the data. But now organization concern about the data security, concern about the data authentication. So now here under the cyber security, at user level security, network level security, network which is again further classified are of two type. Okay, connectionless, connection oriented, then intra network, extra network, inter network. Okay, then public network, private network. Okay, so now how to implement the effective control and policy with respect to the network level, how to implement the effective control and policy at the user level, how to implement the effective control and policy with respect to the different hardware level. At database server level there would be a different control. At with respect to the data warehousing server, there is a different control and policy. Okay, because all these are the different asset. Web server level, different level of control and policy. Okay, then cloud server, cloud service provider is responsible to manage the data, but not having accessibility to access the data. Even whenever we'll think about the data center, okay, which is the emerging area. Now data center is again the one more emerging area for people like you. Okay, I don't know how many of you, because in next 2 to 5 year maximum 2 year after, now maximum audit assignment would come with respect to the data center. Okay, and data center services would be provided by the third party service provider. Okay, and now here with all this network level, then along with the database level, so at different level, this is what the layer arrangement. User level is a different layer, internal user is a different layer, external user is a different layer. Okay, then internal user for the classified. Okay, hardware is a different layer, software is a different layer, network is a different layer. Now at each and every layer we need a effective control and effective policy, which is basically in the form of the internal control, mostly the logical control, and mostly the preventive control, because according to me preventive control would always be much better than the corrective control, and no corrective control able to provide the best solution. And even preventive control from any business organization point of view, it is always economical with respect to the corrective control. Okay, so cyber security is again the one more emerging area. Okay, now here along with this, challenges for you people, fundamental challenge. under the current scenario, there is, like I mentioned, there is hardly any business organization which is working under the homogeneous or working under the heterogeneous. And now every day, suppose person like a Gautam Adani acquiring a new business organization, or Tata, like one day acquiring the Air India, another day acquiring the 1MG, another day acquiring the Big Basket. Okay, so dynamic business environment. And now this is a big challenge for the auditor, even from the IAS auditor, because like you perform audit of a particular business organization, suppose yesterday and now today, organization perform a new merger equation. Okay, so the business environment is totally changed, which is known as the dynamic. So this is a fundamental challenge that auditor must to go up along with the current business environment. Okay, then migration not only into the business, migration into the technology. Like I mentioned, according to the business need, according to the nature of the data, if organizations are now shifted from data to the big data, okay, now all of you are well versed about the Excel, but I am saying there is hardly any analysis we can perform using the Excel. Okay, now to perform the effective analysis, especially with respect to the big data, maybe that data is in the structured form. Okay, especially with respect to the BI. Okay, that is the business intelligence. Okay, then we need, one should be thorough with the tool like Power BI. And in Power BI, one should be thorough with Power Query, Power Pivot, Power View. Okay, then with respect to the machine learning, we are effectively using the Python. Then under the Python, what to learn? Then under the Python, from your point of view, you have not to design or develop the application, you have to perform analysis. Then you should be thorough under the Python with pandas. You should be thorough with NumPy. You should be thorough with SciPy. You should be thorough with Matplotlib. You should be thorough with Seaborn. You should be thorough with TensorFlow. Okay, because Power BI and Python mainly we are utilizing for data visualization purpose. So this migration of technology and the change management is again the big challenge for the auditor. And auditor is not co-op. Okay, because auditor is a third party service provider with respect to any business organization. Changes performed by your client, but you must to educate yourself. So according to me, and now there is a drastic change into the supply chain management also. Means if suppose till date organization was working only with one business, and with one business they were using a supply chain management, and now organization acquire a new business, and now that new business would be assembled or integrated with the existing business. So the size of the supply chain management would be totally changed. Please kindly just concentrate. So this is my humble request. One should, if really want to survive, then regularly you have to update both with the tools and the technology. Because whenever we'll think about the IES and IT, either the audit, either analysis, either the role of a consultant, then ultimately we have to provide the services not only verbally, but we have to perform practically. So more and more you people able to enhance your technical skill, especially with respect to the IT. But out again, there is a fundamental challenge. There are n number of tools and technology. So which tool and technology at this moment, according to me, number one, you should be thorough, means thorough with respect to the big data. Power BI, number two, you should thorough with the Python. And along with this, if you able to command, this is my humble additional value added with Hadoop and in SAP HANA. Okay, then nobody can able to challenge you, especially for next couple of years, and you people able to generate a huge revenue. So this is my simple formula and simple humble request to all of you. If you really want to survive into this domain and really you people are keen to encash So continuous process of learning and continuous process of improvement. Any query most welcome from your end. Thank you at this moment. Raghuji, Neerajji, please. Time won't allow because we are short of time. Otherwise, I have to control myself to cut down. Definitely will meet sometime physically and do some practical workshops here. Yeah, please.
Sure, sir. आपकी बातें सुनते हुए ऐसा महसूस हो रहा था कि एक्चुअली we should have got some more time, ना?
No, Raghuji.
वो लग रहा था कि थोड़ा लास्ट में मतलब ये कंक्लूड करने के लिए, बट टाइम कांस्टेंट इज ऑलवेज देयर.
आपने सुना नहीं, सौरभ ने स्टार्टिंग में सेफ मोड पे चला गया. सौरभ ने पहले ही बोल दिया, सर मैं आज ओपन कर रहा हूँ आपकी जगह. But he started very well. So I more keep people shut because we more concerned about people. It is because whenever any member enrolled into DISA course, into FAFD, so they always concern about that this is a value added course. Okay. And once they qualified, suppose many of the members are qualified, I know they are DISA qualified, they are CISA qualified, they are FAFD, as well as they having the N number of additional value added certificate. But again, now the challenge is how to utilize this value added learning, because there is no mean of that learning if we don't know the implementation. क्योंकि वो तो सिंपल इंफॉर्मेशन बन के रह गया मेरे स्टोरेज बैंक में. मतलब ये फोन बुक मैंने बड़ा कर लिया, इसमें से मैंने रघु जी का कभी नंबर यूज ही नहीं किया, तो उसका करूँ क्या स्टोर करके. सो सेम इज विद द नॉलेज ऑफ द टूल्स एंड द टेक्नोलॉजी. इसलिए अकॉर्डिंग टू मी, स्पेशली अंडर द करंट सिनेरियो, वी शुड परफॉर्म लर्निंग only in that part which having the utility into the practical part, whether it is a banking, whether it is any type of the sector. So business की need क्या, उसके according auditor must to prepare. Yes, please.
नहीं, ये बहुत सही चीज बताई सर ना कि process of learning is the only process of improvement.
Correct.
That's why we will try our best to do these in future also. और डीसा क्वालिफाई होना, जैसे मैं बहुत पहले का क्वालिफाई हो गया हूँ, बट अब आज ये सारी चीजों को सुनने से हम लोगों को बहुत सारी नई चीजें भी सीखने को मिली. तो आई होप कि जो हमारे क्वालिफाइड मेंबर्स ज्वाइन किए होंगे उनको भी कुछ वैल्यू एडिशन हुआ होगा, और जो लोग अभी किसी कारण से क्वालिफाई आज भी जैसे रिजल्ट निकला तो बहुत सारे लोग पास हो गए, कुछ रह गए होंगे, तो उनको पक्का कुछ ना कुछ ऐसी चीजें पकड़ में आई होंगी कि जिनसे पता चलेगा कि वो कहाँ पे अटक रहे हैं. तो these process will go on.
Keep going. This is a continuous process.
नीरज जी.
सर एक क्वेरी थी चैट बॉक्स में आपके.
जी नीरज जी, please kindly let me just open. Okay, Shruti from Chennai. So please guide if doing a course on data analytics with DISA be helpful in conducting. Absolutely. Because I hope all of you would agree with me. Like I mentioned, auditor is always playing the role of a mediator between the governing body and between the management. Okay, governing body which is responsible for direction, monitoring and controlling. Means policy framework would be designed, developed by the governing body, whether it is RBI, whether it is CCI, whether it is IRDA. So during the time of each and every audit, auditor must to extract the data, because during the time of audit, auditor is basically with respect to the data. Shruti as well as all of you perform only 3 activities. Number 1, E, that is the data extraction. Number 2, that is the data transformation. Okay, as per the audit need, as per the audit requirement, to change the form of the data. Okay, and once we perform the process over the extracted data, then that data would be presented in the form of the audit report. So without data analytics, there is no existence of any audit, according to me. So when we'll think about the IES audit, so under the IES audit, at each and every stage, wherever we are performing the risk assessment, where we are performing the risk analysis, so more or less we are performing the data analytics. Like organization is following a particular IP address policy. So that IP address policy, according to the IES auditor, would be advisable or not. So must to perform analysis. So this is what. Yes.
तो अभी तो और कोई क्वेरी नहीं है सर. We can conclude
Any
here.
query, anytime, definitely in future.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Yes, yes.
So thank you, sir, for this wonderful session, interactive and informative. We love to host you in the physical seminar at Varanasi.
Definitely.
Thank you very much, sir.
Kindly. Yeah, yeah.
And thank you, DAP committee, for organizing this webinar and providing opportunity to us for hosting us. And thank you, Chairman Raghu, sir, for your presence throughout this webinar. And thank you all the participants who joined us. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Once again, thanks to all of you.
Okay, sir.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks to